Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share the episode. You can follow me on social media at Galen Trombley. I hope you enjoy the show.
Greetings. Please hold for a very important message. Light speed sequence initiated. How may I help you?
Bonjour.
Security breach.
The truth shall set you free. Awesome. It's a miracle.
Stabilize. 3, 2, 1. Mission complete.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, welcome everybody. This is episode 205 of the Galen Trombley Show. My guest today, Coach Steve. We'll go with Coach Steve Galietta from JS in Plattsburgh. He's a guy that I've seen around. I've seen in the space. I've seen doing his thing, and I think mutual friends of mine have used you as Coach Steve for different things. So this is interesting, and I think the thing I didn't realize prior to you coming on was the therapist role too, which I do want to get into. So this is actually really cool. This stuff I had learned kind of prepping for this of you. So Steve, for people who do not know who you are, kind of give us a little background. How'd you get to be 2022 Coach Steve?
Oh. It's a good story and a lot of work in the process.
You have plenty of time. So
Okay.
Give us the good details.
So the making of Coach Steve, I've always been an athlete. Sports has been my thing since I was a kid. I thank my parents for putting me in sports. I was a baseball player, football player, ran track, wrestling. So I always had this knack for fitness, this athleticism. So that's why it made sense for me to do well in this field. Mm-hmm. And as a younger person, I decided to, do the sports thing and then get into the clinical thing. The history about my background, some of my family stuff, I'm also a therapist too. So we're going to talk about it eventually so this is the essence of JS Fit. It's a holistic place that you can go for mind, body, and spirit. Okay. So the fitness part is since I was a kid, being an athlete. Mm-hmm. And then the educational part, I didn't go back to school until I was 30.
Okay.
For degrees. And
any degree?
Any degree.
Okay.
Yeah. I was I didn't even finish high school.
Okay.
I ended up getting my GED.
Okay.
I made some decisions when I was younger that, don't compliment, the youth part of the thing.
Yep.
And, we learned from our mistakes. And this is what platformed me to do better in life, to do better than the people that I grew up with, to do better some of my family members, my friends, my demographics. I'm a rugged person. I grew up in Schenectady.
Okay.
So in the streets of Schenectady as a young person back in the 90s was a very challenging experience. I learned a lot of good things. And I learned a lot of bad things. So that catapulted me into the career that I have now, being the fitness entrepreneur, the therapist, and helping people create healthy lives. Hoping that people don't have to make some of the same mistakes that I did and experience some of the things that I did, so we can move past that. So JS Fit was branded in 2016 when I moved to this area, and my wife and my children were the inspiration for branding the name. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was a fitness trainer before I came here. I've been a fitness trainer and a therapist for 13 years.
Okay.
So I got some history behind this thing. But the name of JS Fit was created because my name is Steve, obviously. My wife's name is Jennifer. My son's name is Joseph. And my daughter's name is Sophia. So taking a look at this dynamic here and knowing what I want to do, what was my ultimate goal as a fitness coach and a therapist? To keep people moving. To what? To just stay fit. Keep staying fit. Because if you're fit, then there's that work that you do every day. It's a maintenance work. Just like drinking your tea, showing up to work. It's a repetitive thing. Mm-hmm. I believe in habits. Habits create mindsets, and mindsets create lifestyles. And lifestyles create opportunity, depending on which arenas you step in. Right? So that's where the name came from. Just stay fit. Jennifer, Stephen, Joseph, Sophia. JS Fit.
So you started at, I guess, what was the point early in life? Because you said you went from trouble to putting yourself maybe on a better path in life.
Sure.
Was there like a moment? Was that just overall just getting tired of like the life that you were living? Was that
both the life that I was living as a younger person and ultimately the death of my father?
Okay.
My father died when I was young. He died when I was 27. He was 53. He died of a heart attack. And ultimately, too, I knew that I needed to be different in my life. And also, too, I wanted to help men like my father. That was one of the main reasons that catapulted me into therapy. Okay. My father was an alcoholic. He died at 53, didn't take care of himself, ex-Vietnam vet. the Agent Orange, the PTSD that came along with that, the alcoholism, everything that came along with being in Vietnam. I understand, that the trauma that happened behind that. But also, too, I understand through therapy, you can heal and recover and sustain, and you don't have to reactivate that trauma and those behaviors like some people do in addiction or mental health. Mm-hmm. So my father dying, me wanting to change some of the mistakes I made was, as a younger person, catalyst for going into clinical counseling as a therapist. And I did that well. I did that for 11 years in active fields of addiction and mental health.
And then were you also training at the same time?
Oh, absolutely.
So this was all hand in hand.
I've always been training.
Okay. So even before you were doing just early age, like when you said high school into the early 20s, you were still doing some type of physical training or helping people?
So, okay. From 14 to about 21, I was in the world. Mm-hmm. Experiencing the world. Making decisions, making mistakes.
Yep.
Learning what not to do. 21, life was changing for me. By 23, life was really changing for me. 28, I lost my father. I knew then it was time to change.
And all this change was negative in your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so even the 20 to the 23 to 28, that was all bad, like going downhill?
To a degree.
Okay.
To a degree, but I was in certain settings to where I was prompted to change, prompted to take a look at who I was as a person and what I wanted to be. What's the example for me? I didn't have men when I was younger to look up to. I loved my father. He was a great person, but he was an alcoholic and he struggled as a man. Mm-hmm. So my people that I thought I looked up to, I didn't even know, athletes. Oh, I like Dale Strawberry. Mm-hmm. I like Dwight Gooden. I like Mark McGuire. I like that Bo Jackson. Those are the people like Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. I was drawn to those guys to look at what they were doing. But I didn't have the support in my environment. My parents said, go to sports. But that's all they knew how to do. I loved them. They were good people, but that's all they knew how to do. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the positive encouragement environment to keep me sustained. Mm-hmm. As a younger person, we're influenced by everything around us. Mm-hmm. So, as a young guy, as a teenager, going through puberty and experiencing things, it's very easily to be influenced by there.
Some shiny objects.
So, yes. Oh, yeah. Look, there it goes.
Yep.
Yep.
So
I learned some hard lessons as a younger person in life. So ultimately at age 28, I was sitting in a place, and after going to the services for my father, I said, now my life has to change. I can no longer make the decisions or go in the arenas I used to do. I have to completely change everything. How I walk, how I talk, how I think, everything. And from that day, my friend, I began to make changes. So I said, okay, what's one of the first things I have to do? Okay, I got to get back in school. What kind of schooling? Well, I want to help people. Clinical therapy. Let's go for counseling. So I went and got my bachelor's in psychology. Right? I went to my KSAC school for, if you know anything about KSAC's addiction, credentialed alcohol substance abuse counselor. That's the credential that you have to be in the addiction arena. And I did well. I was a master KSAC because I was educated. And then I said, okay, now I love the fitness. I love the other stuff. What do I need to do in that field? What degree can I have that I can sustain both? Psychology, sport, and performance. Absolutely, right at my arena. Mm-hmm. So I went to grad school, got my degree there. I said, okay, what else do I need to have to sustain in this arena? Well, let's go get a personal trainer certification too. Let's get that one. Let's go get a nutritional certification. Let's go get that one too. Let's go get a specialty. What do I ultimately want to help people in? Because I learned this a long time ago. If I'm a fitness trainer, I'm not a fitness trainer for all. Sure, I could train anybody, but that's not what I want to specialize in. Coach Steve is not for everybody. Coach Steve is for the people who want to do well. And what I really specialize in, Galen, is I specialize in mobility training. I do well with guys and girls like me, 40 and above. And joint stability, mobility, range of motion, everyday stuff that we need to do. Look, sitting here right now, mm-hmm. I have good posture. I'm aware of my posture.
I know, look at me, I suck. Actually, that chair over there, before you leave, I'll have you sit on that chair.
Okay.
You'll love it.
But interesting. So,
yeah, you'll like that.
You
probably could actually do the whole podcast on that chair. I tried it one time. It got tough.
Probably could. But this is the practice. Like a moment ago, I talked about habits. Habits create mindsets. Minds create behaviors, and behaviors create opportunities. Like this is the pattern and flow. So, 28, made a decision, go to school, counseling school, got the degree. From there, and then I started working right in the field. right in the field of addiction. And it's interesting because while I was going to counseling school, because I'm from Schenectady, like I told you, going to counseling school in Albany, and at the school, I'm going to school, and at the time I was going to school, I worked. I worked as a construction worker. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any education. Who was going to hire me back then? What can you do? Well, I can use my body. I'll pick the wood up, carry it up the stairs. That's what I did for a long time. I built houses. Okay? And I also worked for my uncle who had a few 7-Eleven stores. So I was a convenience store clerk. So 7-Eleven, building houses while I'm going to school. Okay. So I was busy, dude. But I told you, at the age of 28, something happened in my mind. When I saw my father laying there in that casket, and I know what he died of. He died of a heart attack. He didn't take care of himself, 53. I said, I love you, Papa. I can't do this. I can't be like you. I want to outlive you. Mm-hmm. I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. So I love you, but thank you for this. I thanked him, my father, for the passing. I miss him, of course, but his death was a huge pivotal change in who I am today and how I help people, and my refusal to ever turn back and go those dark roads that I walked. And this is how I'm successful in working with people, because I can understand struggle. I can understand human pain, trial and error, loss. But I also know the other side. I also know how to pull yourself out of that dark pocket of depression, grief, anxiety. Okay? I know what it takes.
Did you have addiction early in life? Or depression or anything like that?
Yes.
So that's all stuff that means stem first person or first,
Addiction, mental health, dysfunctional background, trauma, mm-hmm. pain, abuse, all those things I experienced as a young person.
So how old are you right now, Steve?
I'm 44.
So this whole, when you started off getting in the fitness space, the family obviously, I'm going based off your kids are probably no more than 10 years old now.
Close. Joey's 9, Sophia's 8.
Okay. So when you started the whole, even JS Fit, they were very young at the time. Infants, 3, 2?
Joey, I've been in business. I started JS Fit in 2016 when I moved out here. I didn't have the site location until a year later. I had to build.
So he was probably only 2 at the time?
Joey's
3?
9 now, so 6 years. So he was 3.
Yeah, okay.
He was a little tot.
I got little kids, so I like I said, starting a whole thing from scratch with young kids, there's a lot, there's more than just having people come in the door and training them
mm-hmm.
with a small business. But so I guess going back, how did you get up into Plattsburgh?
My wife, Jennifer, she's originally from here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you want to hear an interesting story about love?
I'd love it.
Right, because I love this story. I tell this story often, and I love it.
You're already beaming, so I like it, yeah.
It still inspires me. So interesting how Jennifer and I met is we met on the internet.
Nice.
It's interesting to say on the internet. We met on eHarmony.
Okay.
And we were both older, and I say older. Jennifer, let me see, Jennifer's 2 years older than me. So I was 30 and she was 32. Mm-hmm. So I created this thing, an interesting story, not getting into the relationship background, but I was married before as a young person in that time where I was making really bad decisions. Okay. And part of that bad decision was dating a girl who I thought was my future.
Yep.
And she wasn't. She was hot. Things were great in a certain way, but It was chaotic and dysfunctional. And I learned 5 years into it that I can no longer continue like this. This stuff is going to kill me.
There you go.
This stuff is going to kill me, bro. So I got out. We ended up getting divorced. Did the dating scene for a little while. And at 30 years old, I was tired of the dating scene. Going to the clubs, the bars, doing all that stuff. It just wasn't working for me. I knew that I needed to change. At this time, I was already making healthy decisions.
Yeah, 2 years into your journey.
So it's like, okay. And then I created a profile. I seen this commercial. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm just getting off my shift in my uncle's store in downtown Albany. I get home, I put on the TV, I'm sitting down, I'm eating my meal, because at the time I was bodybuilding. Okay. Bodybuilding. This is a hardcore, I was bodybuilding those years. And eating my meal, chicken and rice, vegetables. 2 o'clock in the morning. A commercial comes on for eHarmony. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So I'm watching this doctor talk about, we will match you with the ultimate profile person. You will be with your soulmate. And I'm like, you know what? I've tried everything else. I've been to bars, I've been to clubs. Hell, I even went to church and a supermarket. And I didn't find my one. I was looking for my one. So I created this profile on eHarmony. No shit, within weeks, I had multiple women who matched my profile. And I'm like, shit, let me look. And I started communicating with Jennifer. There was something about her. I don't know if that was twinkle in her eye. I don't know what it was. And I said, I got to talk to this girl. So we started talking on eHarmony, and her profile was just almost ending because you pay for a 90-day prescription, right? Yeah. And at the time it was expensive. I think I paid like $150 or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? Which I didn't have a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
I was working 3 jobs. I had a little apartment. I was putting myself through school. So I was tapped financially at that time, right? So she's like, I'm almost done with my prescription. If you want to hit me up on MySpace.
I actually, it was funny. I never signed up for a MySpace. I know what they are. My friends did. I never did it. So, but MySpace. So this is what, probably 2005, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
Oh wait. She says, hit me up on MySpace if you want to continue talking. I hit her up on MySpace, and we started talking. I'm like, you got to come down here and see me. And don't you?
She's from up here.
She's from up here. She's from Keysville. Okay. So that was how I got to Plattsburgh. So she stayed with me down there for, oh my God, it's like she came, moved in with me, and never left, and we just hit it off. She's my soulmate.
And that was 12 years ago?
14.
14?
Oh, wait, because I've been with Jen 14 years.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. So she basically came down. We hit it off. I was like, wow. You know, it took me a year to actually accept that I actually was in love with this woman.
Yeah.
Because the whole, I don't love you. Go ahead. And it's just resistance. I mean, old ego stuff. You know what I mean? Yep. So finally I accepted. I was like, we have something amazing here. And she stayed. And 4 years later, I married her. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, me and my wife were timeline-wise about the same. Mm-hmm. We haven't been together 14 years yet. We're approaching that, but she, same thing was weird. Like when I met her, it wasn't like I had known her a little bit before, so it wasn't like love at first sight thing, but we started to like hang out a little bit more. So I think what drew us more together was just the actual connection of hanging out and compatibility. But then at a certain point, it was like, I mean, you date people prior and, you have relationships and things like that, but there was never someone I felt this way about before up until her. Mm-hmm. And it was weird. It was almost like this weird like feeling in like your stomach or your chest where you're like, something just doesn't seem right, but not in a bad way. Just like I've never, it's almost like when you have a kid for the first time, like there's something that just comes out of you that you're like, I didn't think I could love something as much as I love this kid that I don't even know, who's an infant. That's just, you know what I mean? So it was a weird thing. So I'm assuming that was kind of like with Jennifer, like you just struck something and you're like, this is, you can't fight it. It's just like meant to happen, which, and I'm kind of big on, everything I just think is supposed to happen. And like, that's kind of one thing that, luckily for me, and it sounds like for you, we both made out pretty well in that category.
I did well. I'm grateful and blessed and fortunate. I tell her all the time. And so how we got to Plattsburgh.
Yep.
Right. She ended up moving in with me, staying down there, getting a job. We built an amazing life down there. And I was working in the clinical world. I was working as a fitness coach in gyms down there. So doing my thing, clinical therapist, fitness trainer, bought a house. We were doing well. And I ended up getting a proposition for Albany County Department of Mental Health. I was working in a clinic in Albany already. One of my former coworkers said, hey, Steve, I think you can step your game up in the clinical world. You'll do great. I want you to be my assistant director in this big agency downtown Albany. So I said, okay. It was a $13,000 salary increase. And, of course, I can do well for my family. Talked to my wife. She said, Steven, take it. Make a long story short, I worked for that agency for about 90 days. And they came in and said, hey, Steve, it's not working out. You're just not a fit for our agency. Thank you, but have a nice day. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No write-up, no anything. But anyway, it was an experience. And from that right there, that catapulted us to come up here because we said, okay, I could continue to do the fitness training thing, but, we need a certain amount of finances to be able to sustain living where we were. And just with the fitness, I couldn't do it alone. So I needed the clinical therapy and the fitness. I didn't have the business yet. Okay. So she said, how about we move up north? How about we come up to Keysville? And I've been up here, visited a few times. I'm like, this place is small. People are different.
Slow. Yep.
They don't talk like me. They don't look like me. I got a little swagger. I'm from a neighborhood, like, they accept me. And they said, well, my wife said, Jennifer said, they'll like you. You're funny. I said, well, I'm not trying to be funny. I said, but you're different, though. You have something different, and you can help people. I've already been helping people for many years down there doing so. I was already established. And she said, you can open up your own business. Right there. Mine. I can do all for me. I don't have to. I can help people in the way that I want to help people without policies, procedures, regulations. I can do freedom.
So up to this point, you were an employee of somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever want to open your own business, or was this just like almost like a paradigm shift of like?
I had.
Okay.
But down in a big city environment like Albany, there's tons of guys and girls like me doing this stuff. So I wouldn't stand out. I wouldn't be unique. It's like a freaking McDonald's and Burger King are on every corner.
Yep.
So for Coach Steve to pop up in a fitness train, like, who are you, dude?
Yeah.
Why would we go to you and we go to this, top level trainer over here? I mean, there's so many and great practitioners down in Albany and Schenectady and Troy. But I was a
small fish in a big pond.
Here, this is a smaller pond. So as a fish swimming in this pond, I kind of stand out a little bit. And I made a name, and I made it a point to develop a reputation in this community, in the clinical world, in the fitness world. And how I started JS Fit, I started going to gyms, local gyms around here. I was already on goal mode when I came up here. I had to secure a job as a therapist to get my family up here, just to have a residence. So we got a residence. Got the job working over here. I was working at Conifer Park, doing the counseling thing, and then starting to build a personal trainer thing on the side. I went to the gyms around here, all applied for a trainer. Some of them said, yeah, we'll hire you, but the salary was so low. Yeah. I'm not going to waste I said, you know what? I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to do this myself. It's time to really put all in, right? Like Jennifer said, you can do it when yourself, but I was still scared. I was scared.
Yeah, it's a big leap.
I was scared. I mean, I have this family, that I have these kids.
And 2 young kids.
2 young kids, a wife. And it's like, at the time, she wasn't working, so it's like, oh my God, fuck, I got to take care of these people. It's not just me. I just can't go screw up in the world.
Yeah.
Like that old pattern of thinking where I refuse to quit. I'm driven. Even when I'm tired and burnt out, I still perform. I still excel. So 2016 to 2017, I was going into gyms, working out my own self. I'm in pretty good shape for my age. I say, oh, what are you doing there? You got that curl, you got that. And I like to talk to people. I'll go right up. If you're in the gym and your form is off, hey, Gail, you mind if I save your shoulders right there? Your back's up. How about we make that adjustment on your deadlift? 80% of people were welcoming. The other 20%, fuck you. Who are you? Oh, well, I happen to be a trained professional, but okay, fine. So meeting people, building people. So I started getting clients, one-on-one clients. And I finally had saved enough money to invest in a site location. And I looked at several down here, several in Plattsburgh. And finally I found this little one over here. I walked into the building. I seen it 3 times in the site. First 2 times, too small. And I brought my wife in, too small. And then we almost opted out a building in Peru. It's like an old church off of, I don't know, it's a building in the back. It's hard to see. I don't know the address, but like some North Star church or something now. But we went in that building and we were going to make an offer on renting the building to start the gym. And the contract fell through. And so I called up the landlord, Mr. Wu, who said hi.
I know him.
Mr. Wu says hi.
Does he own your building?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him very well.
He said hi. I told him I was going to do it today. He said, you tell Gail. I said hi.
So Mr. Wu, in all the years, he used to own, I don't even know what the restaurant was called because we just called it Mr. Wu's.
Yeah.
Where Yamasushi is now. Yeah. And I'd gone there since I was a little kid. And Mr. Wu has the greatest memory I think I've ever met or ever saw in a person I've ever met. To the point now, if I was to walk up and see me, he would know me. He would know my family. He would ask about kids. He would ask what all of our jobs. I'm like, and I know we're not the only family he knows this about. So the guy's memory is impeccable. And Mrs. Wu is such a sweet lady. But yes, I know Mr. Wu very well. Yeah,
he says hello.
I appreciate that.
He says hello. So I called him up again. I said, Mr. Wu, I want to come and look at the space. I want to look at the space again. And I knew right there. Okay, this is where we'll begin. This is where we'll start. I told my wife, we have no other option. I need to do this. I need to do this. She said, okay, let's go. And that's where we started. In March of 2017, we opened. And here we are.
You're in the same spot right now.
Oh, yeah, I've been in the same spot.
So what was the idea behind before too small? What got you into I can make this work? Obviously supply and demand a little bit, but...
I reassessed the space. I knew that I was going to do group classes. And assessing the space, going there, bringing out the tape measure, how much space do I need? Can I make this physically work? Can I pump 12 to 15 people in this small space? I did.
What's the dimensions of the main space?
It's 800 square feet.
Okay.
Yep.
Mostly free space?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like there's nothing really eaten up by equipment or by
No.
desks or tables or anything.
No,
Okay.
you'll see a majority of my equipment is stored in the back.
Yep.
So you'll see I've renovated the space during COVID. But if you ever come in, you should come in and check
I'll
out
have
the
to check
space.
it out. I've walked by it before and looked
Yeah.
through the window and stuff,
Yeah,
but
come in.
and I've seen photos of it plenty of times. Yeah.
It's long.
Yep.
So I got about 15 feet here, and I'm I don't know 80 feet maybe 80 feet back. So about 800 square feet.
You do two
total.
rows of people for the most part.
Yeah, 2 rows. So how I set it up in group classes, if I have 12 to 15 people, row on this side, and I have the coach's galley in the center.
Yep.
Or, if depending on people, I'll line them all up this way, and I'll have the coach's galley on here. I always walk and talk. That's what I do. Motivate you while I'm training you. That's one of the tips. One of the things I learned when I was working for a big outfit down in Albany called Focus Master Fitness. Where we're training people on the Focus Master G1000, which is a kickboxing. That I had to be fast in the group classes. That's where I learned to excel down in that place. And so having people lined up in there running 30-minute classes, I was able to do that. And it worked really, really well. I think the most I've ever had in that space, was 19 or 20 people on a Saturday. I was pretty rocking before COVID with classes.
Yeah.
Pumped a lot of classes. I did adult classes. I did kid fit. I did toddler fit. And I even did baby wearing fitness, which my wife had an idea.
Baby wearing meaning mothers or fathers that have harnesses of babies on them.
Right. So let's say your wife was just cleared by her physician to exercise.
Yep.
Right. So she can bring the baby in with the harness on and run through exercises.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There was nothing like that in the area. It was very unique.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. And COVID just kind of crushed my kids program. COVID kind of crushed my other programs, and COVID ultimately crushed my adult program.
So are you still recovering from that, or is that you think that
I've shifted.
Okay.
So
you pivoted kind of the focus.
I shifted my focus. I hired a business coach, and the business coach told me at the beginning of COVID, he said, Coach Steve, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to maximize on. So as a businessman, I had to take a look at that. It's no longer about, I love the groups. I love the energy. I love the camaraderie. And I love having 15, 20 people. I can do that. I do it well. I love it. But I couldn't do that. After COVID, people weren't coming back. I get 2, 3, and it's like, where's my time? And I was struggling financially.
Yeah.
Struggling with the COVID. I mean, all my savings we did to keep that place open for the time we were shut down. So, it was a tough time for us.
Yeah.
Tough time for the JS Fit family.
Well, the reason I'm looking at that is like if you, I'll give you my fitness background and then compare some notes. So played sports my whole life, I took 1 year off, graduated high school, played intramural stuff at college, but didn't actually play on a team. And I just started to feel out of shape. I wasn't heavy. I was only like maybe $150, but I didn't feel like I had that athleticism, that spark. And then I was like, I'll start running because I played soccer. I was like, we'll just run. You didn't know any different. I never really lifted up to that point. So I would run, and I'm like, dude, running's boring. Like I just was never really a runner. I ran because I had to for soccer, but I didn't care for it. So I started back at the time. I went to we used to have a Borders bookstore in Plattsburgh, and I love books. So I went and I started looking at the fitness books, and I started my first actual foray into fitness was P90X back in the day.
Tony Horton.
Not Tony Horton, not coffee guy. Tony no, is it Horton?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Tony Horton created P90X.
You know who I always think of when you say it is Tony Perkins from Heavyweights, Ben Stiller's character, which reminds you of the same guy. That's always like Tony. Yeah, you're right, Tony Horton. So
yeah.
I ended up getting the DVDs, and I started doing that, and I actually did that pretty religiously, 6 a.m. every morning in my bedroom, and I got to the point where I started to learn a little bit more about it. I started to kind of try to look into nutrition because I didn't really have a nutrition background. Again, I just really wasn't didn't have a lot of muscle, wasn't really in shape. I wasn't heavy, but I just wasn't super, physical looking or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to learn how to do the, food and nutrition, and really enjoyed doing that. And I ended up kind of nobody really helping me. So this was and this was before YouTube. I didn't really watch that. I was like, I read books and I tested stuff out. Some stuff worked, some stuff didn't. And I was pretty disciplined. I would if I'm going to do a fitness thing or a food thing, I'm going to stick to it. And I did that for a while. And then in 2011, found a different book that had to do more with compound lifts. Had to do more with functional lifts, lunges, deadlifts, squats, front squats. Cleans. terrible form. I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody was teaching me. I was in the basement of my parents' house, like just kind of grinding it out. Then I stumbled upon CrossFit in 2012, which at the time, nobody did CrossFit around here. And we were a part of like this really small like Facebook group of local people that I kind of got in touch with that would just post what they did. So I like saved up and got a cheap barbell, really cheap barbell. And then I actually bought some decent bumper plates. And I bought just a makeshift, door hanging pull-up bar. And I had, some loose dumbbells that we had just, I think every family collects dumbbells throughout the years. Those old, like the old steel ones. And then we ended up, I don't know if you've been to any of the CrossFit gyms here, but the CrossFit Plattsburgh gym, almost 10 years ago now, one of my friends opened it up. So I did that for years and actually did some coaching there and was really in that space up until about COVID. Then not really because COVID obviously shut down, but then I have 3 kids under 4. So and with work and stuff at the time to go there just made it very difficult. So I'm actually probably in the worst shape I've been in probably a dozen years. But when it comes to, just the fitness aspect, a lot of the stuff that you're saying is so like the group atmosphere. Again, I come from the more CrossFit space of like that was the bread and butter of it was the people, and like the fitness stuff, it's great, but like to me, it's the community, it's the camaraderie, it's the mental, it's the confidence aspect. Starting to get like-minded individuals all gathered in a room, and that's in anything, like you said. If you work in therapy, I'm sure you had meetings with more than just one-on-one. If you had group classes, or even like for business, I meet with some business friends of mine that we just jam a couple times a month just to spill out ideas and help each other out, and it kind of like gets your mind spinning and opportunities happen. So I think the idea of COVID, of taking that away from people, to me would make that certainly difficult, because I think there's a ton of value that I think is actually even more long-standing than some of the health aspects that you do, just from a mental, social. I mean, we're social creatures, so like to have that connection. So that was my long foray into my background. I probably should have started that earlier, but so there's some questions like I said, I'll probably ask you about based on that. But so when you ended up pivoting, are you now more just like trying to do personal training one-on-one, kind of like what was your twist on like your business coach talked about? Like, how did you make some tweaks?
The tweaks was focusing my time, effort, and energy into what creates the most revenue. Right?
Yep.
And one of the things I had to do was abandon the group classes. Yep. I love what you just said, the camaraderie. I mean, we had JS Fit at the time of 18. We had to build that first year. Nobody knew me. 18, 19, we were rocking. I had a great community, and I'm grateful, and I still appreciate all the members who came to where we had such a community. We would do community events. We would, train people to do Spartan racing.
Yeah. Yep.
So multiple people who never even knew what a Spartan race was. Coach Steve's going to bring you across that finish line. You're going to jump over burning fire with me.
Did you go do the Beast?
I've done the Beast several times.
The one at Killington?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just was on Killington. I just did the sprint up there.
Oh, the sprint?
A couple weeks back.
Okay.
All by myself.
Yeah.
Me and my Spartan journey up on that mountain. Those are the things I like to do, But we had a great community. And I saw something really amazing. The people who started to come, some of them didn't even know each other, to start forming amazing friendships. And I know some of those people still talk to each other today. Yeah. And I think a lot of my former members, once they left JS Fit and I no longer did group classes, they went other places. And I always encourage them to stay fitness, stay active. And at the time, it's like, okay, I had to do what I needed to do for my business and for my family. So full on personal training. And what generates most passion in me? My senior population. I'm aging just like you're aging. I'm aging. You can see it. You got the wrinkles, crow's feet. I got the gray
beard now that you didn't
I'm an older coach. I'm an older coach. I'm be 45. It's like I look at things different now today. And what's most important is being healthy and well long term. When I was younger, I was a bodybuilder. That was the thing. Yep. But now I'm talking about the community. I had a great community. I'm grateful for all the members. So making that shift, now it's just personal training, and I run a small group. It's very small. It's about 6 people, my senior fit. And I love my seniors, and they love me too. They tell me all the time, Coach Steve, you're so funny. It's not about being funny, but it's about how I help them move.
So you do have one group class, which is
one small group class that I have on every Monday and Thursday. It's called the Senior Fit Group. We go for about 45 minutes and some mobility training. I'll run them through a functional boot camp, or I'll do some traditional strength stuff in the capacity that they can handle it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of where I'm at with like the fitness aspect of my life. Like before, when I was talking about like CrossFit, like you were young, I was in my 20s, I was like no kids. I was like, my wife was she went there too, and she was she's very athletic, but it was the idea of like, okay, I'm gonna lift more, go faster, try to be as fit as I can be, but fit in the sense of like almost like the aspect of like the sporting aspect of it. And it was fun. Like I had a great time doing it, and it was challenging, and it was good. But then now it got to the point where I like fitness, but I don't necessarily think I would get to the level that I was at before, purely because other things I have interest in life that I would have to devote too much time to do that again, and I don't have that time now. It's like same thing. It's like, hey, can you work out? Can you move, like stretch? Can you move through the motions, get the blood flowing, have some resistance training, and really, how can you make your whole life better, healthy, but to have it be as a supplement to the rest of your life and things you want to accomplish, or activities or hobbies and things you want to do. Like I like skiing, I like golfing, like things that I can do long term where, my posture's not shitty. I sleep well at night. I'm not getting, like there's certain things that I've noticed since I've not been as consistent with working out, like, sickness, or now some of that could be young kids getting sick, but it's also, getting sick in certain spots, also feeling a little more stiff than I've ever felt before. Cause like I used to stretch all the time. I was very very flexible because I put time and effort into it. It's kind of like you said, the habit. I had a habit every day of stretching multiple times a day. But I think a lot of that, the physicalness, at least in my mind, is the, at least for me personally, is like, hey, how can I do it now to just, sustain my life and make it, I'm in my early 30s, but I have no desire to go do these big, massive things of I have no intention to ever run a marathon. The Spartan races I think are cool, but there's nothing like inside of me that like I really want to go do that. Like I think it would be a good mental push, but there's just other things that you have passion for. But it's like the fitness aspect or just health in general helps no matter what you do. But so I mean that's where my mindset's at with the fitness, which I think is why when you say like older people, if you would have asked me even 5 years ago, my mindset would have been slightly different, because it's like they're there to prolong their life, which ultimately a lot of us are at the point where that's really starting, even though, like you said, 30s and early 40s, where you got to realize like my peak fitness is probably not going to peak anymore. Now it's like, let me just make sure the rest of my life is very good and I can sustain it and, become the 70, 80-year-old person that's rolling around, like doing a lot of cool physical stuff that you're like, man, you're like those people that you see, they're like 85 and you're like, what are you, like 70? You're like, no, I'm 85. And you're like, really? But they just look so good at, taking care of themselves. But, so that older group, is this like 50 and above? Senior
65 and above.
Oh, so it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess from that little community, is that like, what's the connection that you find with those people that really draw you to that group?
Their willingness and motivation to take care of themselves. I always tell them, you inspire me. Like one of my eldest seniors that come to me, she's 87. Wow, 87. Awesome. So I look at me now at 44. I'm always assessing myself. I always do introspection work. How am I? Where am I now? Where am I in comparison to me last year? Where was Coach Steve in, 2020? This day, what was he doing? Was I where I needed to be? How was my shape? Where's my mind? I trained the 3: mind, body, spirit. Always work in the 3. This is my philosophy, because you can't do work in one and expect the other 2 to perform and excel. You won't. You'll be unbalanced. And I'm not talking about being religious. If you have a religious belief, fine. Mind, body, spirit. Spirit is a personal connection with you and the earth. The energy, the collective energy. We're made of energy. We are. You are. The tea, the water, birds, tree, everything. Energy. Wind, light, energy. So work in the 3. So my seniors, when they come and I see this change, this willingness, because they understand time is limited. This is one of the things I'm learning as I age, just like everyone, that time is limited. We don't have an abundance of time. When people always say, oh, you have time. No, you don't. You don't have enough time. You just don't. You take the day, you do what you're supposed to focus on, you have your goals, you train the mind, the body, and spirit in that day. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. That doesn't mean we don't focus on tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But I've seen too many people in my life, close to me, family, friends, extension, who've just done. They're done. My father's, for example, 53. I hope to outlive him, But if you don't take care of yourself, your body doesn't do well. If you don't take care of your mind, you're not going to have that thinking, that connection, that grounding. You won't. Your spirit, it's who you are. Your essence, your being, your soul. You got to train the three.
I've so the three things you're saying, so one thing I like to read a lot, and I think when you talk like spiritual, like I went to church when I was a kid, and I got out of going to church. It was just kind of, I think it's a good thing. I think people need something. It was community. I think you have that aspect, but I think I think when it starts coming down to like belief and stuff, like I'm a very, I feel like I'm spiritual, but in the sense of like, faith and like I said, how things, I think, how the universe works and how everything just kind of intertwines and how we're all connected. And I think a lot of that. So I think more of kind of like you said, kind of a holistic view versus, necessarily like a organized religion or anything that, following a certain, whether it's a law, decree, book, whatever that might be. Mm-hmm. I'm not really into that, but I do like I read a lot of or lately I've been reading a lot of philosophy books, of old philosophy. Mm-hmm. I just read. Have you ever read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius?
No.
Do you like reading?
I read when I need to. Okay. But after going to grad school and writing all those papers and reading all those books, I read sometimes when I'm inspired by something. I
think this book I had heard because I've been reading a lot of like I'm actually halfway through his newest book, Ryan Holiday. I don't know if you know him at all. He's kind of like right there. It's called Discipline is Destiny. That's his newest book. And that, for me, that's been a page turner. And I mark up my books and I take notes and I use them as resources in the future. But one of the books that I just recently read was Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. And he wrote the book in like 100 and something AD. The book's almost 2,000 years old. He wrote the book to himself. It was his journal. So in the book, he's just writing. Now, the book I read was... it was a translation, like a more kind of modern translation, so it's easier to understand than back then. I think he wrote it in Greek, and he was the Roman emperor back then.
Sure, I know who he was.
Yep, so he's the most powerful man in the world, but what happened was he was writing this stuff to himself every day. It was his journal entries. But his journal entries, and it sounds like you're similar because I'm kind of like you, very introspective, and I think a lot about myself and what I'm doing, and try to be aware of... my actions and my place and just things that I'm doing. And it was interesting to see what he was writing because he was writing most powerful man in the world 2,000 years ago would have been something you or myself or someone else doing some type of journaling would write down. And it was cool because it allowed you to realize, 2,000 years, which is, if you put it in perspective of us, seems like a long time. In the universe is a blink of an eye. And when you look at what they were dealing with and what, whether it's different people or whether it's, just, enemies or friends or acquaintances or even just internal struggle. Like there's a beautiful passage in it where he's struggling to get out of bed. He's just writing like, why is it so hard to get out of bed? Like why, but I have to, like, this is my goal. This is my duty. Like, and it's crazy to see this guy like struggling, having this internal struggle with things that we all struggle with today. But what I got from it was he talked all about like, he was mentioning like older philosophy at the time, things like, where's Socrates now? Where's Aristotle? They're dead. Like where's the ruler and where's the guy that, took care of his like mule or something? They're both underground. Like basically what he was saying is, we're all like connected. And he goes, people do different things in life, but he goes, really like your time is limited. And he goes, no matter what you do, he goes, you're a couple generations from being forgotten. And this is all of us. And this is, so he's like, he put it in perspective in the sense that don't get too high, on yourself and don't get too low. He goes, but you just do what you're supposed to do. But I think the idea behind at least listening to that and kind of the stuff you said, it's like, and this is stuff that I've been really trying to focus on lately. Like I had anxiety. I was like all over the place and I was go, 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 go. And this was, up until maybe about a year ago and to the point where I was like getting almost like sick from anxiety. And the anxiety was like, I got this pile of work to get done. I got these calls to return. I have these people I got to talk to. These people want this done. And I was just getting stretched in so many different directions to the point where it was like, just wasn't having fun. Like, I mean, I was just getting burnt out. I was just stressed. I was tired all the time. I wasn't, that's where I started to get out of working out and health stuff. And because again, what takes back burner is all the stuff that you were doing for yourself before. And what I've really found lately is like, I meditate. Like that's a big thing for me. I've recently picked up journaling in the morning and at night. And then the one thing I haven't gotten into the habit of is working out. So we talk about the 3 trifecta for me. It'd be meditation, journaling, which is to me both kind of more mental self-reflection, and then the working out being the physical body. So really it's like the mind, body, and spirit all in 3. And that's why, I keep reading a lot of the stuff like Discipline's Destiny. We talk about discipline. You talk about habits. You talk about doing the things that you should do, knowing what the outcome's going to be. And we all know it, but it's like to sit down and just like make that habit. And like, I know the reasons that stop me from doing it, but it's like, it's breaking that mold and really diving into that. So I guess in your line of business, like, and in just your life too, because this has happened to you, how have you taken those ideas? How do you practice them each day? How did you form the discipline, or how did you form the habits to make all that stuff just become, at this point, second nature?
Consistency, repetitiveness, doing the same thing over every day. Until I nailed it. How long did that process take till you felt like I have it? 15 years, maybe. Probably all my youth, when I realized there's a time in our youth when we realize what the world is. Like look at my kids now, 8 and 9. They don't know what the world is. They only know what they see in their environments, their family. They don't understand things on that capacity. When you're a younger person, teenagers, you're like, oh, fuck, this is life now. This is the world we live in. And then you have your own ideas, your beliefs, and based on those, you make decisions, right? So I've been doing this work now on myself since I was 28. I'm 44 now. I'm going to turn 45 in March. So I've been doing this work, Galen, since I was 28. Probably before that, because I was in a place where I needed to really just focus on myself. So 28 to 44, so was that 15 years? 15 years of going to school, to getting educated, to making mistakes, to being consistent with getting up and taking care of myself when I don't want to, when I'm tired, when I'm sick, when I'm frustrated, when I think, what's the sense of doing it? I keep doing it. I keep doing it. I keep showing up. I keep showing up.
What's the drive behind that? What's the reason? Is there something like hit you? Like,
well, now my reason is my children. I do what I do to help people, but ultimately it's for them. My legacy, everything that I do, I work, I earn, my future, my investments, everything for my children. But it's not about just giving them things when I go, the house, the investments. It's about letting them see me go through this process every day. Getting up, Daddy's going to work. Daddy worked hard today. Now Dad, you worked today. Look, you worked today. You had a hard day. You worked today. How many people you trained today? What is the business? How much money did you make today? What is this money? How much money can you? Now they're kind of asking questions. Especially my son. He's not. He's going to be 10. So my motivation to continue to excel, yes, for my personal health. I understand the complexities and importance of it, but I see them now watching me. They're watching me do this. What better of a teacher? What better of a teacher? I've learned so many things in my life, Galen, wrong and right, to understand what I need to do as a man, what I need to do as a father, what I need to do as a husband, and what I need to do as a coach. I don't question anything anymore. There's no, am I in my purpose? I'm in my purpose. I'm in my lane. I'm focused. And I'm going to be focused as long as I choose to be focused, which I hope to last another 15 years. And I think by then I'll be, 60? I think I'll be ready to be done.
A lot of the stuff you're saying is like the idea that the mindset, like the choosing of it, like it's in your power. And I think that that's something that a lot of people put exterior forces on. It's like, hey, we're human. We complain. I complain about stuff. I probably complain about something every single day and sometimes more than I should. But it's also like I try to catch myself. And there's a lot of times that I don't complain about stuff because I'll sit there and be like, it's how do I react to it? Like take it in, you can change it, you leave it, make it or accept it, and it's like, to me, I kind of go through that. It's like, okay, well, something bad happened. Something maybe not the way I wanted to happen. And my main thing right now that I'm really trying to focus on was the anxiety part I found has lowered substantially. And one of my things I write every day in my journal is kind of like just like try to be unrushed. Like try just not to feel rushed during the day. And I think for me, that's kind of like a stillness or calm of, if you have somebody that wants to talk to you or is reaching out to you, or you have a to-do list, you have a pile of stuff. It's like, okay, that stuff will wait. And my idea now is being unrushed, but trying to think in like, kind of like you did with the business. Like I've, 80-20 principle and things like that. But it's the idea, and I heard this from, kind of a business guy I follow, is like, if you're busy, don't work harder, prioritize. So that's what I've been trying to focus on, is like, think from an order of priority. Like, what's actually priority in my life? And then just be okay with not the other stuff getting done right now. And I think I was always someone that was like, just go, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. In my mind, I was like, I'll just get it done. And then I'm like, I'm drowning in stuff. But I'm going to go. And I just, obviously I'm just digging I'm basically putting an auger down into the ground and digging myself lower. And I had to basically kind of cut that out and say, listen, like, okay, I'm going to be unrushed. I'm going to only try to do maybe 1 or 2 main things a day that I really want to focus on. The rest of the stuff can wait. It can get punted. Will I piss some people off? Will I get some things not done? Will I maybe not have a couple opportunities to maybe try to pursue? Absolutely. But what it's given me is more peace of mind. It's also given me that a little bit of that unrushedness. And I think when it really comes down to like, why do you do something like that? Same thing. I have 3 kids under 5. They're starting to get to the point where, I want to be there for them. But the other thing is like, I don't want to come home at night and be stuck on my computer working. I don't want to come home and not be present with them. So a lot of it is like, because I did an okay job, but I did an okay on the surface, but my mind was jumbled. So I would be with them, but like I was present more physical than I think I was mentally. And I didn't like that. And so now it's to the point where I'm like, can I just pause? Don't worry about it. Really be invested with my kids. Because like you said, we don't have a lot of time, especially as they're young. My kids are a few years behind yours, but I mean, you've already seen almost a decade of it. It's like, I don't want to miss out on the times because I was just rushing. And then all of a sudden I'm like, where'd their childhood go? And I think that kind of was a realization to me of like, and this has been about a year journey into it, but I'm finding I'm making some good progress on it of like, pause, just let things happen. You don't have to be Superman. You don't have to accomplish everything. There's different stages of life. And like right now I'm at a stage where, family's there. I can, I might have to let some opportunities slide. I might have to let a few things, maybe accomplishment or financially not peak as well as they might have before, because I was going to lose things that were arguably way more important. Not even arguably, but that were more important. So I think that that 3 idea was something that the mind was the thing I always had a decent mind. Like I was pretty sharp with certain things, but it took an experience at an extreme level to have to go to another extreme level. But I think the level that I'm trying to get to is a more sustainable level. And I find that each day, my day-to-day is just not as rushed. And I find it's weird. It's like we talk about the universe. Like when I don't feel as rushed and things aren't as rushed, because it's my perception.
Sure.
But then I find that things just fall into place. And all those things that were like go before just don't show up as much. So it's almost like, but there's things that do come in. I'm like, this is perfect. I like that. And now I can focus on this. And then, so I'm excited going forward. I'll be honest, out of the mental side of it, and then I'll say the spiritual side as the 2, those are probably the 2 that I've done the most work on. My worst one is the physical side right now. And that's something that I did so well before, but that's like the hardest thing that I've been able to put as a habit. And that's something that I just know is like that candle's been burnt at both ends, where I got to now get all 3 pillars up. And I feel like I've made a lot of progress, but when you're talking about all 3 of those becoming major habits, my next big one to tackle is that.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to work in the arena. I like what you said about the consistency, the training, and the identification peak, and knowing where there's a deficit. And this is what I do with my members. Okay, what's working? What's not? What do we need to change? Where are the barriers to you making that step closer to being healthy or functional? What do we need to do? Always ongoing assessment. Just like I work with my people, I have the ongoing work with myself, you know, and the kids now. About a year ago, I've made so many changes in my business and as a professional these past few years, especially from COVID, that Sophia came to me one day. There was one time I used to work 6 days a week. My wife would tell you before, I'm a worker. I'm a worker. I'm a worker. I will work. That's one of the things my father always told me when I was young, and he said, you got to go to work. He said, you always call me Stefano. I come from an Italian family. Stefano, you got to go to work. You got to go to work, son. You got to provide for your family. You got to protect your family. You got to provide. So this was ingrained in me since I was a kid. You know, ingrained. Work, son. Work. But unfortunately, he was an alcoholic, so I saw that side of it too. So, you know, but my daughter came to me about a year ago. She said, Daddy, you work a lot. You're going a lot. Yeah, I work in the morning. I start the studio. There's times I started the studio 5 o'clock. I'm training people. I'd be there all day and come home till 6, 7 o'clock at night. Yep. They're at school. They come home. They're going to bed. I'm just coming in the house. And Sophia, Daddy, you work a lot. I work a lot. I do, honey. We have nice things. I have my own house. We have nice vehicles. We have nice things. Because I work. I earn. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know, this is not as important as I think it is. Because she's grown up now. She was 7. Still 7-year-old girls coming to me, talking about she misses me. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between, hey, Daddy, I miss you. You were gone all day. To Daddy, you're going a lot. Yeah. You're going a lot. So I made some changes at JS Fit with my schedule. Mm-hmm. Now I punch out a couple nights early. I don't work those 12-hour days. Well, I shouldn't say I work 12 hours, but my time is shorter. Mm-hmm. You know, like today, for instance. Usually I'd be booked until 2 o'clock. I'm grateful for meeting with you today. But I only booked for one session after this. One session when I'm done today. Normally, I probably have 4 or 5 in the night. You know? Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? No. So I adjusted my schedule. I'm a home with my family. I used to work weekends. I don't work weekends anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't work on the weekends. I spend time with my children, my family. We do things. And my wife. You know, I put my phone down. The only thing I do on the weekend, I do my one little social media post. I think about what I'm going to say to the world today. I do that, and boom, it's done. I'm not on there. No more time. We don't get time back, and we don't have enough time. I used to think when I was young I had lots of time, and I used to hear that. We hear that when we're young. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got time. You got time to decide what you want to do. That's fine when you're 15, but when you're 40, that don't fucking work anymore. You got to know, and you got to do. Mm-hmm. You got to know, and you got to do. That's the path. I don't want to say I'm near the end, but I heard this 50-year-old talk about it, and it stuck in my head. He said, when you get closer to 50, you start changing things. You start changing your mindset, and you start valuing how important time is and the moments are, because you don't have enough, you know?
Well, I think that's where mine came from. I think, and again, kids put it in perspective. Sure. And I think, you know, and I think COVID, while, you know, there was, like, obviously there's struggles with, you know, the health aspects of COVID, but fight the economics of COVID and everything else. One of the things that it did was it slowed me down to really enjoy the family for a few months. I'd work at home, but it was different. It wasn't commuting. I didn't have as many appointments. So it was like I'd work every day, same thing, but I would cut out, you know, I would start a little bit later and I'd cut out earlier. But I was being very effective in, say, a 4-hour block versus a 8, 10, 12-hour block, depending what the days would be, or even 14 on a few days. Like, and same thing, I would go, but when I was a few years before kids, I knew I had to bust my ass to do it because you have to build up a certain, you know, level of, you know, I had to work to get to a certain level before I was able to take a little bit more time off, you know, be able to afford some leverage things here and there. And that's something I, like me personally, I'm proud of, because that was, like, our business is very hard for people, easy to get into. A lot of people don't stay motivated enough, and they're their own boss. So you got to be tough on yourself. So when I say tough on yourself, but you got to be disciplined. And I was very disciplined, and I worked a ton. I did a ton. I accomplished a ton. And then it got to the point where, you know, 2020, when it started back up, and even last year, was just crazy, but it was good. It was a lot of work they had put in to get to that level, but it caught up to me too quick, and too many things were catching up to me at the same time. And there was two things. I would either self-implode and risk something not good, either family or it was never like never addiction like drugs or alcohol, but it would have been more of like neglecting the family time, and then to me, even though I was spending time with the family, my time was better. It was creeping into my mind because my mind wouldn't slow down. And that was the problem. That was what I was finding. I was like, I was good, but my mind was spinning all the time.
Oh, yeah.
My mind still spins. Your mind spins. I know it does.
It does.
Yeah, because you're thinking if you run a small business, you think all the time, especially if you're self-reflective. If you're not thinking about the business, you think about yourself. I mean, you got your family and stuff, but I'm saying, like, in those quiet times, you're not just sitting there mindlessly doing nothing. And so one of the things, like, reading for me is just nice. Like, I'm going to sit down, put my phone away. Nobody's bothering me. I'm just going to read for 20 minutes, half hour, whatever I have. But to me, that's a calming thing. And then for me, it slows me down. It's like read before bed. It calms me, makes me go to bed. But then it's, I'm able to, when I go home, really try to put everything away and hang out with the kids and be present with them. And like last night, sat down and they wanted to watch a movie or, half of a movie before bed. I got to sit down on the couch with all three of them, just nothing. Just sat there, watched a movie and talked about their days, and we talked before they go to bed. They always want to talk about their school, which I love. They're little kids, but it's just funny to see how their minds are developing. But that was something that I had to make a real effort to do. Yeah. And like you said, it's a journey because I don't have it figured out. And like I said, my glaring weakness right now is the physical aspect, which I actually am getting to the point where, when you get to like sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's kind of it where I'm like, I just have to start because I'm physically like stiffer. I don't feel as good. I find that I get sicker longer, which I never did before. Obviously, all the health benefits I know. But I did it for a decade nonstop and I was in very good shape. But then it's, you let some things slide, you get out of the habit, things get broken. And that's just something from COVID I just never was able to pick back up the consistency I had before. But now I've kind of come around with, like I said, a different mindset. So now with I guess like I said, so Sophia comes up to you like, and you've been on this transformation and things like that. Like, where do you think that you've done well at with that? And then where do you think that you still have a struggle or something that's still kind of a challenge for you day to day or something that you want to try to, maybe evolve or try to improve on?
I'm much better at being present with my family when I'm home.
Yeah.
Much better of not working when I'm home. I've made so many improvements with that because I would be home. I'd be answering message, building programs. I got to do my social media. I'm home, but I'm not here. Give me a minute. I tell my kid, give me a minute. Yep. Give me, that'd be a minute. Let me work on this. Next thing you know, 2-3 hours I'm building. No, I can build a program. I'm at the studio. I can do my social media at the studio. If somebody messaged me today, I can respond within 24 hours, and that's still professional. That's still, respectable. Yep. I got time. I do a lot of these changes, valuing them and listening to them, seeing them grow. I remember when they were babies, holding them in my arms. Till now, they're functioning little humans. And it's like I need to be present for them. I need to be present. I think my biggest struggle now, Galen, is just my own mind. It's always been my greatest adversary, but also too my ally, and also too my adversary. My mind. It's strong, but then sometimes, we have those negative concepts that come up every now and then when life weighs heavy on you. Well, why do you do that, Coach G? Why do you get up at 4 in the morning? Why do you do that for? What do you need to do that now for now? You can call in today. Your people will understand. No. They need me. I need to be present. This is the behaviors I built. You talk about building a business. I had to build this business so I can work it to where its capacity is now. So my biggest struggle is my mind, knowing when I need to stop thinking about certain things. As much as I know, as much as I've experienced, I'm still human. And I could be exposed to stress, and I could still be stressed just like you are. And no better, no different, but I consider myself an expert in my field and a responsible person with my own 3-prong approach to healing, mind, body, spirit. But as of recently, I just broke out in hives, right?
From stress.
From stress. My wife has cancer right now. So it's been very challenging for our family.
Okay.
So whoever listens to this podcast, I appreciate your time. Thank you for this. I ask that you pray for my wife, Jennifer, and if you don't pray, then I ask you to send good, positive thoughts and healing for her on her journey right now. So that's been on my mind for a while now.
Yeah. And
it's not going away right now. So it's a constant in my face. It's not like, hey, I have a cold. That's going to go away in a week or two. This is in my face. So I thought it to a certain point. I've been managing the stress of that, going to exercise, eating my food, talking about my feelings, meditating. I'm a very spiritual person, not a religious person. I am religious. I do believe in God, but my spirituality is more earth. I like to take my shoes off and go out and do yoga in the grass or Tai Chi. I teach Tai Chi. I'm also a Tai Chi instructor. So I go out and I'll move, and that may be my movement for today. But my mind, I need to understand that I can't help everybody. But that doesn't mean I'm still not productive and useful, let's say with my wife, because I can help her. But as a coach, and I also consider myself a healer too, a healer with the energy stuff. I do a lot of energy work too, holistic stuff. I can't heal her. She can heal her. The medicine can heal her. The therapy, whatever, the chemotherapy, all that stuff. I can just pray for her, and I can just be positive and be supportive and tell her she's going to be okay. Even if I'm in my mind, I don't think that, because I see her and I see her being sick from the cancer. So I need to do a better job at breathing, pausing when I need to, and understanding that, I'm still a work in progress myself. As many years as I've been working on myself and working with people, I'm still not done. And one of the things I'm most grateful for now is time. And I had recently, when I need help, I reach out. I'm no stranger to saying, hey, I need help. But I reached out to a therapist friend of mine. I went to a therapy session and talked about the cancer and the stress. And he said, Steve, you got to breathe. And think of it like this. Instead of going home and seeing your wife sick and, she's got cancer, she's not well, think about that you as a professional get to be part of this helping process and this healing journey, and just witness it, just exist in the space without taking that anxiety on. I fucking get her better. Gee, today, shit. I was like, wait a second. She'll be okay. If she wasn't going to be okay, the doctors would tell her right now, and we'd have this much more serious diagnosis. It's just a physical presentation of what the cancer does. I don't know if you ever experienced anybody going through chemo or anything. It's
it weighs on you. Obviously them, but on the family.
So figure someone figure your wife. I don't wish this on anybody, bro. Anybody, nobody. I don't wish this on anybody. But this is my wife. This is
it's your rock.
My partner, and it's like this. It's an anchor. Cancer. If there's anything that I hate in the world, and I don't fill my heart with hate, because it's a negative energy, and I don't want to have space in my heart. But I hate cancer. I hate what it does to people. I hate what's done to my family, and I hate what's done to my wife. But also, too, there's a silver lining in this. And this is when I talk about time. We don't have enough time. Time is valuable. There's a reality that this could turn for the worst for our family. That's a reality. Cancer kills people. So that's on my mind, too. But it's like, okay, I can be positive. I can be coachy. I can do the things I need to do to take care of me, and that helps her. That helps her when she knows that she can say, that's my rock. I've been a rock for a long time. In fact, it's a funny story, and put a little humor on this because I feel myself getting emotional. And my daughter comes to me one day. She says, Daddy, when she started learning Neil the Rock, I love the Rock. He's one of my mentors. I love his story. I pull great strength from him.
Oh, Dwayne Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
He's a good dude.
It's my rock, dude.
Yep.
And I like the pit bull. I like my swagger. That's my hood swagger. I like Pitbull. I like to dance. Pitbull. So my daughter Sophia likes Pitbull. So she see that thing, fireball.
It's the worldwide. Yeah.
So she comes to me one day. This is a funny story. She says, Daddy, you got muscles. You're strong. You're big. You're bald. You're brown. Because I get dark in the summertime. I'm Italian. She doesn't understand what that means. She comes to me one day. She says, Daddy, you big like the Rock. You look like the Pitbull, but you can't be the Rock. You can't be the Rock, and you're not Pitbull, but you look like them. But you know what? How about you be the Pebble, Dad? The Pebble's still a rock, but it's not as big as the Rock, but it's Pebble. So I have this story, right? She said, you the Pebble, Daddy. And I looked at this little girl, bro, and I said, I'll be the Pebble, Sophia.
Yeah.
I'll be the Pebble. But for her to take these two figures who are great, successful professional people in the world who make an impact, they make their mark. You got the Rock, you got the Pitbull, an athlete, for her to look at me and say, my daddy's like them. My daddy's like them. He's not tall. He's muscular. He's bald. He's brown. But yeah, to put me on that pedestal, bro, man. So what I do, yeah, of course I help people for a living, but they're watching me. Those two little kids are watching me every day. I teach them about exercise, nutrition, talking, communicating, healthing. Those are my futures, and like a big motivation of why I do what I do. Plus, I love my members. I mean, I love everybody who comes to me. I appreciate their time, even if it's for a few months, whatever. I don't care, to share that time and space.
Well, it's a whole ecosystem. You know what I mean? Like if you're given to, like you give to members with the idea, you're giving to them something that's going to benefit them beyond just a scale in the weight or the body fat percentage or something like that. I mean, there's like we talked about, the mental aspect, the community aspect, just the confidence. You're now allowing those people to go out into the world to be better versions of themselves, which in turn helps more people. Same thing. It's like, and that's one of the things I connect with the kids. Your son's got some good. I like his outfit here too.
He's a good-looking boy.
It's gonna. I don't know. It's like it looks like a Easter or something like that. He's got a cool tie. But the kids. It's like when you look at kids and you're trying to instill in them values, because you said like a legacy. Like I pray to God that I tap out before my kids. That's always the thing you want as a parent is for them to outlive you. And the idea is like my goal is like how good can I get to therefore do as much as I can to maybe give them a head start, not a head start from, the financial, or not a head start from, I mean, that's stuff that you hope to do as a parent, but I think it's also something just to be,
it's a foundation.
It's a foundation. We talk the mind, body, and spirit, and the idea of like athletics or working out or fitness, but it's like also the mental aspect. It's also just being a good person. It's the golden rule: treat others, the way you want to be treated. It's working hard. It's I don't want to. My kid has an issue. It's of course they're little, but they have they have like these little issues at school, and you try to help them see through it instead of being like, well, that's just that kid didn't want to play with me. Instead of saying, well, then don't play with them. They're probably a bad kid. Like, no, you would never say that. So it's like, well, why didn't they play with you? Did you talk to them? Well, I tried to, and they ran away. Well, why did they run away? Did you like? And then you get them going. Well, then I'm like, wait, you guys are playing monsters and hide and tag and on the playground. So what, did she think you were a monster and she was running away from you? And he goes, well, maybe, but I wasn't trying to chase her at that point. I was trying to talk to her. I'm like, yeah, but she might not know that. I said, know what you do? Go tomorrow and go up to her and say, hey, I want you to be my friend. But I said, trying to get through the, like, hey, like, let's problem solve this, buddy. Like, and he's 4 years old, but he's smart enough that he's making the connections, and I could tell. And it's like, okay, and like my daughter, like, well, nobody knows nobody knows, I don't know their names. Nobody knows my name. I said, did you go ask them their name? Did you do that? Like that, I said, tomorrow, what I want you to do, I want you to just go up to one person and just ask them what their name is. And I said, she's 3 years old, and like, I don't know if she ever did it or anything, but to me, it's like you could tell in her head, she kind of got excited and started to giggle. And I'm like, you can do that, right? And she's like, yeah, I can do that. I said, okay. I said, just instead of, so I'm trying to instill in them like just little things, like little baby steps. Like just go ask someone their name. Just tell them your name. Go up and say, hey, my name's Oakland. I want to be your friend. And I said, but it's the idea of like trying to instill in them, hopefully something they can instill in their future spouse, their future kids, their future friends, and I think that if you get enough people that, hopefully, and my parents are great, and I think they obviously did that to me and instilled what they could with me. And my goal is to keep bettering myself to each generation, and we get better and better and better. But a lot of it is like, experiences that you have to have, and more self-awareness, and really trying to figure out like, hey, this is stuff that I think helped me make your own decisions, my own choices. But I don't want to be the helicopter parent. I don't want to be like, we're not going to make excuses. Like, I didn't get to play? Okay, well, why not? Like, didn't practice? I mean, the coach isn't going to sit you if you worked hard and you earned the spot. Like, that's never going to happen. So there's always like these little, kind of coming from a team sport aspect too. It's like you learn so much with team sports, and you learn so much with just having, I played team sports, went to a public school. You do all these things. You just, my parents were hands-on at home, hands-off at school, meaning, you didn't want to get in trouble at school because you got more in trouble at home. It was one of those deals. So it was like, you kind of went and you kept your nose clean and you did what you had to do, and you got through school and you problem solved, and you didn't go to mom and dad because a kid, said something to you or did something to you or something you didn't agree with. It's like, nope, you figured it out. And then to me, that allowed me to understand how to talk to people and understand it, whether like the small adversity that kids faced, you learn that. And then same thing, like you put problems in perspective. Your wife having cancer is greater than any problem I'm experiencing now. Like that's just what you put it in. And like the idea of, and they say like if everybody threw their ideas in the pile, you'd be quick to grab yours back out, because most people don't have, if you put it in perspective, big problems. Like health is a big problem. Like that's up there. That's and I think that's something I always try to put in perspective too. It's like, kind of like the gratitude aspect of like, things are good. Like every morning I journal a couple of things. Like, what am I just grateful for? Like just small stuff. Could be, hey, glad I just got to sleep in a bed last night, to I'm glad I'm healthy, to the other day I wrote down, I'm glad I'm literate. I can read, and that's because then you look at like a lot of people don't know how to read, in the world. And, you kind of, and I know it puts in perspective, but when you take that time and then you also realize like the finite amount of time that we have, that it's like, you can do a lot of stuff, but that's the thing. It's like time goes quick, but I think time goes quick because we don't value the time as it's passing. So that's kind of the idea of like slowing down. And one of the books, or get an audiobook. I think you'll like this. If you want to, you seem like you could do an audiobook. I listen to a lot of audiobooks too, but Ryan Holiday is the author. He's very good. He's very big on like Stoic philosophy, but one of the books I read recently was called Stillness is the Key. And it's a very easy read. He takes a lot of old philosophies and relates it to present day. But it was a very powerful book, but it was the idea that, if you're just going, everything has to come from stillness. And when I went to learn meditation, I call him mentor, I don't say professor, he's like the mentor that taught me the technique of meditation. What he said was, rest is the basis for success. Like he goes, he asked me one time, and I've shared this before in the podcast. He goes, Galen, let me ask you. He goes, you seem like a go-getter. You seem like you work, and you seem like you want to, you're very ambitious. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I'm sure like during the week you work really hard. I'm like, I like to think so. I put in my time and everything else. And he goes, so why don't you do the same with rest on the weekends? And it like hit me like a ton of bricks, because what happens? He goes, we don't let rest creep into our work week, but we let work creep into our rest, which is the weekend. And what happens, and it got me thinking of like, you know what? I don't just pause to recharge the batteries. Like I'll let stuff, like my idea was like, okay, Saturday morning, I'm going to wake up before the kids get up so I can work for a couple hours. So then I can stay with the kids. And then once they go to bed, I'm going to try to work. Well, now I'm sucking my sleep, which is not good. As we know, that's the body part of it. I mean, mental and everything else too, but a lot of the physical. But I was almost like tricking myself to do it. Like I'll just, any pocket of time I had, I'm just going to do stuff. But then I started realizing like I'm trying to do all this trivial shit that doesn't matter. So instead of that, we talked about prioritizing. Like I very rarely work before bed anymore. That's something I like cut out. I'm like, you know what? Once I get home, I'm not doing email. I'm not going to like, unless it's like very time sensitive. And in my business, time sensitive is like offers going back and forth. But most of those things too don't have to be done at 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I got to the point where I'm like, email can wait till tomorrow. Any inquiries that came in late can wait till tomorrow. Don't have to do it. I'm home. I'm chilling with my family. I very rarely work on weekends, and that's by design. And I will if I have to, if there's no other way to get around it. But I've been very good at getting to a point where I can limit that. But for me, it's the idea of like, I just want to like rest. I just want to like, and sometimes rest could be an entire weekend, could be an entire day. It could be even just an afternoon, could be just a morning. There's times like I've punted an afternoon, just said I'm done. I'm just done for the day. And usually what I found is by prioritizing stuff and saying like, today I got like one thing I really wanted to get off my plate today that was just like bogging me down. And I like my meeting, I had one thing today that I really wanted to get done. I got it done, came out of that way like better, more relaxed than I did before, like way better. And now I'm like, the rest of the day is just gold. Like I don't care what happens because I got through my main thing. So now I have this, I do have a couple appointments tonight, but what's going to happen is like, I'm going to be kind of chill throughout that. And I'm going to go home, pretty much drop everything, hang out with the kids, read tonight, kind of hang out with my wife, and we'll go to bed. And like, but I don't feel that unrushed aspect. I don't feel rushed. And because my priorities for the day were small, and I will get to some other stuff. And I already know there's stuff I will not get to today that will have to get punted to tomorrow and possibly even later this week or next week. but I'm at peace with that. And I'm like, you know what? The rest of my day, I feel better. I'm starting to notice things differently. I'm starting to notice small things. Like it's as simple as it is. You like gave me your hat, and I'm like, I just noticed like the cushiony of this part. Like where before I would grab the hat, I'm like, cool. But now I'm like, as simple as it was, just grabbing it and being like, oh, I like that. I like that feel. But I find that like even small things in my life are starting to pop up more because I'm more present. So I think you would get a lot out of that book. I'm not saying you have to read, but I'm saying like put it on an audiobook. But I think that also might be a calming thing too, because it's a very just sitting down and reading it. I just jot notes, I underline stuff, I fold pages. I just I use it as just a reference guide to go back later to. But the idea of stillness was like it's something I've really brought on of like just chill, like just relax, don't feel rushed, don't let other people rush you, do your thing. I find that like you showing up today, even though I was finishing up eating, but I was like, I got to eat. I didn't skip eating. And then like you came and I'm like, I'm good. I'm present. I'm ready to talk to Steve. And it's like, and that same thing, like all the stuff that's after, like it's good. I'm good. Everything's after. I'll get to what I need to get to. I'll prioritize and then I'll just punt it.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yep.
The Power of Now.
I have not read it, but I have the book. So it's on my shelf.
You like this, Jude? So I've read that book. I've read books in my life. I read when I'm interested.
Yep.
But the power of now. When we take time to unplug, and if you see some of my social media posts geared to the weekend is unplug to plug into you, right? Unplug so you can restore. Rest is part of training. Rest is part of life. Rest. And I find when I rest on the weekends, I spend time with my family. I don't get up and go to the gym. I exercise on the weekends. My resting doesn't involve. I move.
Yeah.
I need movement. I'm a creature that loves movement. So even on my rest days, I'll do yoga. I'll do Tai Chi. Sometimes I need to sit still and I'll meditate. I'll do those things. But it's all about unplugging.
Well, when I say and I guess I should say when I say unrushed, I don't think it's a physical unrush. Like working out, because I think that's a nice relaxation for the mind too. To me, the unrushed is a mental unrushed. It's like disconnecting from social media. Like my phone's not on me; it's over there. Like I don't like it when I'm podcasting because I like to be present with the person I'm talking to. So, but it's not going on social media. It's not checking email. It's not not checking the news. It's not. The other thing is just not thinking. Just not sitting down and saying I have to solve a problem. I have to work on something. I have to figure out some project at my office. I'm like, no. If that's important, Sunday morning, I sit down and I prioritize my week. I go through, what do I want to accomplish? What's my goal for the year, month? And what can I do this week to get me to that month goal? And then I take it and I time block in my calendar. And notice when I talk about my major things I want to get done, I did it today. I did it yesterday too. So each day I come in and say, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on. And I plan that out on Sunday, so I don't have to think about it. It's in my calendar. And if I don't get to it, if something were to pop in, or maybe I had two of them and only got one done, the other one, it's fine. It didn't happen. I'll float it, or I'll just put it to next Sunday, put it on for next week. Life goes on. But the idea on for me, the weekends or at night is the mental relaxation of just don't think, don't critically think. If I want to read, that's fine. If I want to read something that's stimulating for my mind, I want to learn something, totally fine. But don't try to solve problems. Don't work on work for the sake of work. Don't sit there and grind something out that I got to stay up till midnight to get this done. No. Block out 8 to 12 on Monday and just get it done. Same hours, different part of the day. But what are you going to do that morning anyways? You're probably going to just answer a bunch of mindless emails. So time block that to batch them all and do them really quick, like for an hour, or if that, half hour. So I don't know. That sorry, that I should have been more clear. That my unrushed is a more mental unrushed. The physical side, that's something like I said. I ski and I golf, but it's the actual everyday of like elevating the heart rate, getting resistance, training with resistance or mobility, things like that. I got to start introducing back in my life. So that's when we talk about like habits or like, hey, Galen, where do you fall short right now? Mine is the physical. And I know that for a fact. And why is it the physical? The only time I can work out during the day, or I should say the only time, the most convenient time for me to work out in the day is first thing in the morning. Probably about, I like getting up, I like meditating, I like journaling. So it'd probably be about 6 o'clock in the morning. I have a great gym setup. I actually, Steve, if you came to my house and saw my setup, you would actually punch me in the face, and you would say, maybe not, because you don't seem like that kind of guy, but you would yell at me and say, you have this sitting out there and you don't utilize it every day. I have no excuse. Like, I actually have a very nice, fully stocked gym that I can do a lot of stuff in. But my thing is, it's going to bed too late. So if I go to bed too late, I can still wake up in the morning. I don't wake up with enough time to work out, or I wake up with enough time to work out, but I'm so tired that I can't work out. Or I say can't, but I just don't want to work out. So then my motivation goes, I don't want to do it. I'm tired. I'm groggy. I got to bed at 11. Now I'm trying to wake up at 5, and I'm not firing on cylinders, where if I can get to bed at 10, wake up at 5, work out for 6, 7 hours, that would be plenty.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get into. So I know it's not even the morning. It's not even the physical act of going out and working out, because I like doing that. For me, it's as simple as I have to get to bed by 10 o'clock, and which is crazy. But that is, I mean, it's crazy simple, but that is the biggest struggle. It's so simple, but it's the habit of physically just going to bed, because I'll wake up at 5, fine. If I get 7 hours, I'm good. I'll feel motivated and energetic. But it's just that little thing, because next thing you know, it's 10:30, it's 11, it's 11:30. Now your 7 hours goes to 6. Now it goes down.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now I can't sleep for 5.5, so I'll just wake up at 6:30 now, not 5. And that's the game you play every day. And it's like, why do you slip into that? But it's habits, it's discipline, and that's why I'm kind of in this this reading, is that I've done a lot of discipline. I'm a pretty disciplined person in certain aspects, but like you said, to put those three things together, there's a gap. So I'm just trying to tighten that up, and then, and I'll get there. It's a journey, but it's like, it's the stuff that you really try to instill. I think just to have that, trident of excellence in all parts of your life that are going to be the building blocks.
Here's something else. And there's a lot of guys and girls who say that just like you do. Yeah, Coach Steve, it's the time. It's the time. I sleep. I want to. I have this gym. Yeah. So here's my feedback to that. And you and everyone else who listens to this. This is where you bring Coach Steve into your life. You come hang out with me for a month. We'll set a 6 o'clock a.m. workout time. So you have that anchor, you have that accountability, and you have to be accountable to me and to yourself. Because if you're not at my studio by 6:10, guess what I'm doing? Where the fuck are you? What's up? You got to be at your training. There's accountability. You may miss one day. I'll be on your ass. You won't miss the second day. And guess what happens after 30 days? You're doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah.
You don't need Coach Steve in your ear no more. Coach Steve built that. You built that habit. So maybe you come hang out with me for a month. Well, 45 days. 45 days, we know we can build a good, healthy habit. We'll get you working at 6 o'clock in the morning. After 45 days, maybe you won't need me anymore. You do it yourself. And then you solve that problem. Then you train the 3.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, it's so true as the accountability, because that's one of the things when I was doing, when I first started doing CrossFit, I was doing evenings. I was a kid. I was working, didn't have a family. I'd get done my work day. I'd go anywhere 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 at night. Didn't matter, because I was like, whatever. When my day's done, I'll work out, hang out with some buddies, go home, eat, get up the next day, do my thing. And then going up to COVID, I was doing the 5:30 a.m. class. And I was usually the first person there. I'd show up. I did my stretching. I did some resistance on the arms, just kind of resistant band stuff, just for, just for shoulder protection. And then I would do some stretching every, more like, foam rolling and just some, kind of more dynamic, stuff prior. And then I would stretch afterwards. And then I would actually I'd take a shower. I'd change. I'd be here by about 7:30 in the morning. I think I still have it. I do. I'm looking at it. I have a yoga mat in the back. I'd roll out a yoga mat here. I'd watch a video on YouTube, and I would stretch for about 20 minutes. And I did that every day for about 6 months. But it was routine. And it was and then COVID happened. Literally right up to COVID. And then I actually worked out all the way through COVID. I ended up having an injury. And later in the year, kind of more towards August. And then I just kind of got out of it, and I started, like I said, I went right into kind of ski season, and then I went back into golf, and then I just, with kids and life, I made every excuse in the book not to do it, and that's kind of where I am now. But the idea of, the accountability was the same thing. It's easier, instead of walking out to the gym or walking out to the garage to work out in the gym, when it's just you, because that's when you got to find that motivation or that discipline to say okay, I'm going to go out, not, for whatever reason. And do you know who you know who Jocko Willink is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Jocko, one of the things I always find is like that guy every single day. I mean, as you know, he's up at 4:30 every day. Sunday, Monday, like Christmas, he's up and he works out every day. And one of the things that I love is reading a book from him, and he goes like, "What's his motivation?" Like one of his motivations is someone out there is still training. Someone out there is going to beat me. And like here's a guy who's ex-Navy SEAL commander, retired, and this guy's mindset is like he's still in basic training. Oh yeah, and it's crazy, but he's just like, and one of the things that I thought was so simplistic. Actually, one of the ones I think you'd like. He goes, "Yeah, I didn't want to do heavy squats today, so you know I fixed it. I did heavy squats." And he's kind of one of those guys. He just like trains his mind, and then he goes, you know, you get up at 4:30 every day. He goes, you go to bed at 9:30. And he goes, but I stay up to 11. He goes, okay, get up at 4:30. Guarantee the next day you're going to bed at 9:30 because you're gonna be tired. He goes, tire yourself out. Yeah. So he goes, and the idea is he takes all the stupid excuses and simplicity out of it, or puts simplicity into it. He's like, how do you get up every morning at 4:30? He goes, well, the alarm goes off and then I get up. Like that's it, you know. And it's such a, it's like so funny to laugh about it, but it's like it's just that thing. It's like it's so, you know, you try and you know you need to do it, but it's like that gear. You just got to force yourself. So like my thing, again, I said is right now it's like just get to bed and wake up and slowly work your way into it and get in the habit. And so it's always, like I said, it's a work in progress, but it's like, I think if I had to grade myself on a year ago to now in those three, like effort wise, I would say like a couple of them are higher grades, and then the physical would be a lower grade, you know. But like to me, it's moving. Like, how can I get straight A's? How can I get A in all of them? And one of it's like the effort doesn't mean you're accomplishing. It's more of like the effort you're putting in. Like my effort on two of them, I think for me, from what I was started at before, is way better. Physical, way worse. But then it's like, okay, I was out of balance. So now it's like, how can I bring all those in? So it's like, you know, perfectly symmetrical, like rate, like if you're doing a tire, like you want the tire to have the same radii or radii.
Spokes in the wheel.
Yeah, spokes in the wheel. And that's the thing. It's like, I feel like a couple of them are perfect, and then a couple of them are like, that wheel won't be turning because it doesn't have that correct spoke.
I got a thought for you. I'm sitting here thinking as you're telling me because my coach brain is going off.
There you go.
Okay. You like your schedule. You like your book. You like your meetings. You stick to your schedule. You said on Sunday you plan your schedule out for the week. You got time blocks. Okay. See that 6 a.m. time block on a Wednesday morning? You see that 6 a.m. time block on a Friday morning? That's Galen's time to work out. You put it in your book. You commit to the workout. You commit to yourself. You're going to show up to the meeting just like you would with a client. You're not going to miss that 6 a.m. client because you believe in the value and the investment in that personal connection, because you're a guy who says he's going to do what he's going to do. You're a man of your word, right? Guarantee if you write that in your book, you're going to have a couple questions about it. You're going to have that apprehensive. You're going to, oh, fuck, you know, I don't got to do it. It's just me. But then that disciplined mind that you train yourself to be, I'm learning that about you just like you're learning about me today. That's going to kick in. And you know what? You might stay up till 11 o'clock at night, but you know what? The alarm's going to go off at 6 a.m. and you're going to show up. And you might not have a great workout, but guess what? You showed up. So the next time, you know, just like Jacob Watkins, you know, 4:30, you'll get to bed at 9:30. You're going to go to bed earlier. You start doing that a couple times, guess what? You've already started to build the habit. You do it for a good 45 days, it's there. You won't question it. It's going to be in your book. Then you don't have to take it out of your book. You're going to know that you're going to do that for you. Okay? And you can do that. It's that simple, my friend.
Yeah, and when you so when you deal with, I guess, your training clients that you have, and I've seen I won't name any names, but I've, you know, some mutual friends I've seen and run into where they've posted stuff and, you know, and obviously given you a lot of credit, and you know, what's kind of like a general what's some general similarities of people you have that why do people typically come to you? And then what's this, like, hey, they come to you and day one to, let's say, we'll use the 45 days because you talked about that. Like, let's say prior, how do they get in the door? When they meet you, what's that journey like to day 45? What's day 45 and beyond like?
Can we get a time check before where are we with time? I have a 4:30.
We got 20 minutes.
What time is it? 4:10?
No. You're probably about 3:30 right now.
Oh, then we're fine.
Yeah. You good to watch that?
I do, but I wasn't looking at it because I'm focusing on you.
Yeah.
But something
Am I right? Am I right about the
something,
time?
Something just told me to say, hey, just do a time check. 3:38. So we got time.
Okay. About 20 minutes. Yeah. There
So
you go.
we're fine. We're fine. As long as I'm out of here by 4:15, we're good.
Oh, you'll be out. Yeah. We'll get
Okay,
you out
good.
of there.
Okay. So how it works with coming into me. Let's say you're following me on social media. Say, Coach Steve, I've been watching you. I hear you talk about this movement thing. I hear you talk about this nutrition, this mind. What is this stuff you're talking about? These people getting these results. Oh, by the way, another friend of mine says hello, Jack.
That was one of the guys I was talking about.
Yeah, and he says hello. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say
He
hello.
actually, I saw him the other day. He looks very good, but he's a
Great.
skier too. So
Yeah, great. Amazing transformation.
yes, absolutely.
And him and his wife are still with me, and I appreciate. Like I said, I appreciate all the members. But it's transformations like that. He had to trust me.
Because he had an injury. They got over.
He did. He had to trust me, okay, to come in and say, okay, I'm gonna let this guy tell me what to do so he can help me be healthy. And often
That's
at
good
times,
news.
it's a lot of respect for him
Yep,
and
absolutely.
his wife and his business. So he says hi.
Yeah. Good. I miss him. I used to see him more than I do now, but I do miss him. He's a great guy.
I see him quite often.
Nice.
So how it works with me is something sparks. Whether you know somebody who sees that transformation, or you see something on social media, say he's getting my attention now. This is why I'm on my job. Social media presentation every day, posting every day, sometimes twice a day. I'm in your face. Right? I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about your body. I want you to think about your mind. I want you to think about your family sense. I want you to think about your spiritual, everything, mind, body, spirit. Where are we? Just like we talked about you. You mentioned you need to kick it up in the physical context. Okay. Then Coach Steve would say, okay, what do we need to do to build these healthy habits? And this is the plans in place, A, B, and C. We're going to make it happen. So you're either going to do it or you don't. Right? So you're going to show up or not. Well, Coach Steve, if you're paying me, well, you're not paying me. You're paying for yourself. You're making an investment in yourself. When people pay, my old business coach told me this. When people got skin in the game, they pay attention. All right?
Absolutely.
Well, our rates are affordable, but I'm not the cheapest guy in the block, and there's a reason why. Of course, I need to take care of my family, but it's because you're making an investment. You know you're not going to want to screw that investment up. You're not just going to dish over $500 to somebody and go, yeah, I'll see you next month. No, you're going to fucking work. You're going to work, right? So how people, you reach out to me, or I have people come down to the studio. Let's have a conversation. I don't always just agree to train anybody. We have a conversation. How'd you find me? What led you in the door? What is it? Why are you here? Right? I'm not your doctor. I'm not your brother. I'm not anything. I'm a guy that you reached out to because you sense a need for change. So we have a conversation. So once I figure out what they want to do, I say, okay, I can either help you, or I'm sorry, I'm not the guy for you. And I will tell you why. I've told people that I'm not a trainer for whatever reason. You know, whether it's an energy thing, or I can't help you with your goals, or you know what, I don't have any spaces right now, because I do get full. Sometimes I have a waiting list. So after we have that initial meet and greet, then I'll set up a test, and I'm going to run you through a functional fitness screening. I'm going to see where the joints are, where you are with range of motion, stability, balance, coordination. I'm going to run you through a strength game, and I'm going to see where you are on the strength percentile. I'm going to run you through some lifts, some presses, some pulls. I'm going to see where you are with your jumping, your hopping, your plyometrics. I'm going to run you through the full workup. And then I'll give you a fit score based off Coach Steve's in-house fitness score out of 100. Where are you on the functionality score? So based off that score, then we'll set up training. I'll either say, hey, Galen, I need to see you once a week because we'll do a hybrid. You're sustainable. Maybe say you scored an 85 in a fit test. You don't need me all the time. This is how we're going to start. This is how we're going to set up the program. Where if you need more time and attention from me, your beginning level, you're real green. You need to see me 2 times a day. We need to do a training at home one day. Or I might say, you know what? You need to see me 3 times a week. This is the accountability you need. Some people just need to just show up. That's where they are. Coach Steve, I had no motivation. Okay, if you're paying me $500 a month, I'm not saying those are my rates. I'm just throwing a number out there. Because people say, oh, Coach Steve, how much are your rates? My rates are different for you and everybody else. It's a personal investment, right? It's just what it is. It's individual, all right? So they would say, okay, this is what I got to do then. This is how you're going to show up, right? 1, 2, or 3 times a week, right? This is how we set up training. And then from training, I'll develop that goal sheet. And from there, we'll say how we hitting these goals. So every month, every 60, every 90 days, I'm doing a mark. I'm assessing you again. I'm always assessing you. My eyes are still good at my age. So I can see real good how you move, where the strength is, if the scale's going up and down, if that's your weight goal, and what else is going on. How's the family system going? How are you in your family? How are you at work? How are you performing? How's the sleep? How's the hydration? I mean, everything. People don't come to me and just get stronger. Of course, that's part of the process. It's a lifestyle change. And I think that's why I do so well, Galen, is because when people who come to me, it's not just to get stronger. They might, hey, Coach Steve, I didn't realize I needed to work on that balance. Hey, Coach Steve, I realized I needed to improve my self-confidence. Or, hey, Coach Steve, I know you got that therapy thing going on. I have some depression and anxiety I'd like to talk about. I want to be well and I want to be better. So what can I do there? Balance, mind, body, spirit. So the training, there's no term. I don't kick people out. When we achieve goals, maybe there's something else we want to work on. Our people generally sometimes just enjoy my time and my space and my energy because they don't have anything else positive going on. And I'm a positive influence on you or anybody else who comes into my space because that's what I train myself to be, right? So term is different for everybody, right? I have still people that have been with me 2 years that still love the training because they're invested in the process, right? So, and then they help people through mind, movement, nutrition, and I do the spirituality thing too. So yeah, that's how people work.
And I think so. I mean, and again, when you get, so you find that most people would come to you through word of mouth or social media.
Yes.
And that, and I guess from, you start to see people that go in different spheres. So it's kind of like, hey, we mentioned Jack. Jack has great results. Jack talks you up. People say, Jack, you look great. Hey, why go see Coach Steve? And that, I'm assuming that's kind of because the good thing about your industry is everybody needs it. It's not something that's like, I don't need health. I don't need fit. And that's, everybody needs it. People that don't utilize it, people that don't utilize it know they should be utilizing it. And I think that it's one of those where if people come in, there's always going to be someone that's curious. It's kind of like our business. Houses are everywhere. Sure. It's yes, could there be some technology that comes out and wipes out all agents? Possibly, but then you just adjust and you find another niche in that space. But it's the same with fitness. Can someone come out and take away Coach Steve? Well, they might be able to take away your program, but they're not going to take away the enthusiasm. They're not going to take away that personal connection. They're not going to take away the accountability. They're not going to take. So there's always that. There's more of those human element, soft skill kind of things that are all encompassing of the work aspect. And I would say that. Actually, I'm curious with you. If someone shows up and they come and see you, and it's a one-on-one, personal training session. I would say close to 100% of the time, those people do exactly what you say and are physically able to get through that time.
Correct.
So that's the thing. It's like you show up and you can do it. There's nobody's saying you can't do it. And I think a lot of people, why do you think that people would be hesitant to come see you?
Time and money.
Okay.
It's always one of the most famous excuses. I don't have enough time, Coach Steve. Or that's too expensive. Well, how much money you spend on shit every day when you think about it, right?
Well, it's and it's kind of like you said. If you take the idea of, I said before, if you have too much stuff going on and you just want to work harder, well, that's like the spending more. It's prioritize. Do you need if it's that important? And you got to. I'm saying if someone was to look at fitness as being important, it's okay. Well, then if you can't budget for that, but so say it's $500 a month and that's a one-on-one training. What else are you spending $500 a month on? Even if you had to just weigh out everything, I'm sure there's a few bad habits or vices or streaming services that you may not need to take to do every single month. Right. That you find that once you start physically working out, you may not need to watch 4 hours of Netflix every single night. You may not want to because you have to get up. And I find that that's always something that if people looked at instead of spending more, doing more. It's no, prioritize what's important to you. Cut out all the other bullshit that you don't need, and then put the pillars in your life that are important to you. And that's something that, again, the accountability, the discipline, the things that we kind of talked about already, I think definitely factor in. Now, from the last couple things before we leave, when you talk about the mind, you talk about the spirit aspect of it. Where does that jump out? What part of that plays personally for you, and then what do you do each day for mindfulness, or what do you do each day for spiritualness, or
Okay. I love this question. I love this because people always ask me, how are you?
I think people see you more physically. Because it's easier to see physically, but I mean, if you're in the gym, you're on social media, like I can physically see you're in good shape. I can't see mentally. I can't see spiritually. I might see your mood. I might see maybe how you project in confidence or enthusiasm.
Sure.
But you physically can't see on the inside. So it's like, what do you do that people may not notice on that outside?
Great question.
Or inside, not the outside.
Every day when I get up, I talk to God. I do. I'm Catholic. I'm spiritual. I believe in the earth, the universal energy. I talk to God. I ask him, for one, it's, thank you for waking me up. I drink my water. I breathe. Okay? I run through my gratitude after I talk to God, man, especially for my wife, for healing. Heal my wife, protect my children, help me, guide me, keep me safe from my house to the studio, help me do well today. I have a conversation with God. So that's how I start my day. I have a conversation with God, and then when I do, my conversation is done, and it's usually 5-10 minutes. My ride is 15 minutes into work, then I'll go through what I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's hard to do that, especially during struggle, But we have to. And I identify things I'm grateful for. Every day it's different. Today I was grateful for. I was excited about this meeting. I knew yesterday. I was telling my wife, this meeting. So I was grateful to meet you today.
Yeah.
And then talk about my business, talk about things, and build from one man to another. And everyone else is going to listen to this podcast. We're building. We're connecting. We're evolving. We're elevating. We're awakening. Okay, and that's what we need to do. So I go through I'm talking to God. Some people say, oh, that's praying. Well, what is praying? Talking to God. Talking to someone other than yourself. It's that voice inside your head. It doesn't matter. You'll hear something. So you have that conversation. I talk to God. I do my gratitude. Okay, and then I move. By this time, I'm at the studio. And I always block out in my book, like your book, 5 to 6 a.m., it's Coach Steve time. Well, I'm not Coach Steve to myself, but I can be. There's times where I pull Coach Steve. I pull, you got to get your shit together, Steve. Coach Steve brain comes out. I call Coach Steve brain. You better get your shit together. You got to show up for training anymore. Let's go.
So this is you physically training.
I train myself.
Yep.
I train myself Monday through Friday. And the weekends, I'm hanging out with my kids. I do movement, but I'm not in the gym. I used to, as a younger person, I was a bodybuilder. I was a bodybuilder back in the day. I don't do bodybuilding anymore. I do strength training, but not bodybuilding. It's different. It's a whole level of work and consistency. So I do strength training. I do mobility training. I'll do my movement, my balance training. I'll have that time before people come in to see me. That's taking care of my mind, my body, and my spirit. I've drank my water. I don't eat in the morning right away. I believe in fasting. I like fasting in the morning. We don't need to eat. When you look at old primitive cultures, they didn't get up in the morning. They didn't have breakfast. They had to go fucking hunt for their food. So they weren't eating right when they were. Okay? They drank water. They moved. What am I doing? I'm getting up. I'm drinking my water and I'm moving. That gets the mind going. Cognition. Okay. Flowing. Blood. Okay. Then I eat later on. I probably eat maybe around 10 o'clock. 10. I usually have a break about 10:30. I have my breakfast then. So that's what I do. I talk to God in the morning. I run through my gratitude. I even do affirmations too. I tell positive. I forgot about that. I do my affirmations too, and then I move. And then I'm ready. And I know, Galen, when I don't do those things, there's times where I've struggled. I'm consistent 95% of the time. But there's times I know there's a notable difference in my presentation with myself. You may not know it. Because even on my worst day, I could be the best coach. You may not know. You mean Coach Steve was a little slower today. But man, it was a great freaking workout. I know when I'm off in my mind. I know when I'm off. Okay? So I make sure I do those staples in the morning to make sure that I'm okay to do the things I need to do. That doesn't mean that I can't be exposed to stress. Like with the situation with my wife, I told you she broke out in hives. My body's responding to stress. It's too much. But I'm managing in the best way I can. Okay? Talk to God, affirmations, gratitude, water, and move. That's how I start my day. The rest of my day is building on with people, building. We're always building. My sessions are not regular training sessions. Of course you're moving. Of course I'm having you do stuff. But we're talking. And some people sometimes just talk. They just need to get shit off their chests. It's too heavy. Things you carry around, you, everybody else, they need a place to dump. A safe place. A place that they can be trusted so they can leave it there. So they can go back out in the world and do everything that they need to do. So my training sessions are amazing and groundbreaking. They're like, think of like this. If you've ever been into a counseling session, you kind of know what that is. I'm a therapist by nature. I don't work in clinical settings anymore. I don't have the suit and tie on. I'm not doing a whole blah, blah, blah. This is Coach Steve. This is how you come see me in the office, right? So we might be on the studio floor. You might be moving around, but we might be talking. I might sense something in you, and I might say, hey, I'm sensing a little difference in you today. What's up? And it might go just like that. For example, the other day, last week, Tuesday morning, I know something. One of my dudes came in. I'm not going to say his name. One of my dudes came in. I sensed the heaviness in him. I know I've been training him for a little while. Mm-hmm. He come in. He's seen heaviness. We started moving around. I say, yo, hey, man, what's up? You all right? I talk like this. You okay? He just looked at me. I said, well, Coach Steve. And we were deadlifting this day. Today was a deadlifting day. He said, well, blah, blah, blah. And it just came out. And you know what I did? I listened, and I gave him a hug. Right? Mm-hmm. Just like that. And he a little flooding. He was emotional, and that was fine. We can do that. That's okay. That's okay. I needed to be there in that moment. He needed to be there in that moment, and that's okay. That was healing for him. He needed to purge some of that stuff. So that was his part of his training that day. Guess who we did 5 minutes later? We were fucking deadlifting. Mm-hmm. Just like that. You know, he texted me later and said, man, I appreciate you. Not many men would do that. Do that. Why not? I'm not many men. I'm Steve. I'm a coach. I'm a human. I understand. So my training sessions, you could say, are abnormal in a sense. Not to say every training session we're having a therapeutic fitness intervention. I'm not saying that. Some people just come and say, Coach, I need to move today. Don't do that therapy stuff. Okay, we can do that. Let's go. Next set. Whatever we need to do in that moment, you know, to have those training sessions. But ultimately, it's to make you better so you can perform in the arenas you need to do. And I'm grateful to be part of that process. And I'm grateful to be able to find my passion. I found my passion. Remember I told you in our earlier conversation, I don't need to know. I've discovered who I am and what I'm supposed to do. That's my purpose on this planet, to help people heal, right? To help people heal through my practice, movement, meditation, mind, nutrition, personal connection, the power of human touch. That's powerful, dude. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Like when I was back to this guy, when I hugged him, my intuition told me hug him, Coach Steve. He needs that right now. He needs to feel your energy. He needs to feel safe. And this is a grown man. He's a pretty big dude too. Oh, it's okay, man. It's all right. You're gonna be okay. Needed that, but it's just a snap of. I've had amazing experiences. Sometimes I learn so much from my members too. And I ask questions when I don't know stuff from people that I understand, people that understand things. Mm-hmm. You know, a younger version of myself, I wouldn't ask you nothing. That's ego. I don't
say more humility now.
I don't probably need ego anymore, bro. I'm 44. I don't need to. It's okay. It's okay. You know, and I don't know. I'm just grateful for JS Fit. JS Fit has saved me many times over, and I know I own JS Fit, and I am JS Fit. Coach Steve is JS Fit. But coming to a place that I'm accountable for people who depend on me, okay, it's been a pivotal change in my life as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, but also too as a human being and a family member, a father and a husband. You know, so yeah. So if anybody is who listens to this, who's curious about what I do, give me a call. I'll be happy to have a conversation with anybody. Stop down by the studio if by chance I'm in a session with anybody. I might flag you and say, hi, how you doing? I may just give you a card, have you call. Whatever we need to do, let's have a conversation because anybody can move. I had a girl who came to see me, Galen, 2 years ago? And I work with a lot with special needs too. We didn't even talk about that stuff. We got time. That clock is strange.
That clock doesn't work. Yeah, check your watch. But yeah,
like what the? Huh. Okay, we're good.
It's right twice a day.
So this guy, I train people with special needs too. People who trainers just write off. People who have cognitive disorders, who have autistic, who have fetal alcohol syndrome, who don't think and talk or even look like you and I do. I train people. Right? I have a heart for that. I have a special place for that. I believe in people can change. My thoughts were getting so. It's this journey, and I'm grateful for all members. They teach me anything. But back to if you're curious about what I do, give me a call. We can have a conversation. Obviously, check out the social media stuff. Maybe this area of Plattsburgh is small. I've learned this about. So maybe somebody who has trained with me, ask them. Or most somebody, just let's have a conversation. Okay. Strength, mobility, balance, mindset, nutrition, special needs, habits.
So what about nutrition for you? Like how much, I mean, nutrition, if you take physical working out, like depending on what your goals are, most of it's like 80-90% of nutrition.
Yep.
You work out
Yep.
an hour a day. Even if you worked out an hour a day, you have 23 hours you're not working out.
Yep.
So I guess from the, this will be the last thing for time, but like your fitness aspect, like how do you look at that? Like what's your philosophy on the fitness or on nutrition?
Oh, I love food. I have a great relationship with food. It all depends on what my body needs and what my goals are. My body's different than yours. I don't know how much you weigh, but I'm pushing close to 200 pounds today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm heavier during the season. Seasons are changing. It's okay. I'm okay with my body. All right. But my caloric needs are different than your caloric needs. But I believe that food is not our enemy, it's our ally. But it's taking the right amount of macronutrients based on your body's demographics. What does your body need? So I would calculate macronutrients. This is part of my training, calculate macronutrients and develop a nutritional program. Or we can, nowadays we live in the world of apps. There's so many apps that you can get nutritional programs. Like Coach Steve, sure, old school can create a nutritional program for me, absolutely. And some of my members still love that personalized attention, Takes me a week or two to create the program, but that's okay. Whereas an app, you pull it up, boop, there's my meals for today. So I guide people two ways, but ultimately, I believe nutrition is important. It's part of the training. It's great for muscle. It's great for energy. It's great for cognition, and we need it. So people who come to me, I should say this, most people who come to me struggle with nutrition. Most people who come to me are 40 and above. Not saying I don't train younger people, but we have a conversation. Again, it's all about the conversation. Mm-hmm. They struggle with nutrition. They're working. They're in their families. They let themselves go. They gain some weight. They feel like crap. But they understand that time is of the essence, and they cannot continue on the way that they were moving because otherwise the quality of life goes down. So we get to nutrition under wraps. We get them moving. I get them starting to do the gratitude work, the affirmation work. And then I have a conversation about spirituality. I don't push God on anybody. Your belief is what's your belief. Mine is what's mine. And that's okay. We can be indifferent. And that's fine and coexist. But we talk about the 3-prongs approach. And you see, I have a 3-step transformational system. This is based on the arenas we work. We train the body. We train the mind. We work on the spirit. That's how we sustain it. That's how we become balanced and well. Mm-hmm. So we're going to work in those arenas. You're not just going to come and push a weight. You want to just go push your weight, go up to the Eclipse, go up to Planet Fitness. We got to dig deeper because there's an issue, the need for change. Pushing weight is not going to change your circumstance. You're just pushing away. We have to create new healthy habits. And nutrition is a huge one. Huge one. People are either eating too much or not enough or not the right stuff. So we work in those arenas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the best I ever did when I was, I liked the macronutrient thing.
Yep.
I do like MyFitnessPal. Got very into it. I mean, like I said, I probably went 3 months, and I was 99% strict. Meaning, like very rarely did I have, and that was my thing. Like if I'm going to do it, I got to go all in. I got to get that baseline, and that was, but it was Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. I tracked every single day, so. I had my numbers. I could fluctuate a little bit, but for the most part, it's kind of like in order to hit your ratios, you do have to eat quality food.
Sure.
So it always forced me into it, but I'll be honest, like when I was doing it, I had the most energy I've ever had.
Sure.
I was the leanest I've ever been.
That's
and
right.
I'll be honest, I was probably eating the most I've ever had to eat.
Give me some.
So I ended up going, I just remember, and the funny thing was when I was doing it, and I don't know how you would play around with the numbers, but I was eating, I would say arguably anywhere from 45 to 50% of my calories were coming from carbohydrates at the time. And a lot of it was just the energy expenditure. Mm-hmm. As I got higher and higher, I should say as I got leaner and leaner, my carbs went higher and higher to sustain it. And the funny thing was, the more carbs I added in, the leaner I got. And it was weird because most people are like, you can't eat. It was like, I was eating like 3,000 calories a day.
Yep.
And it was a chore to eat. And I remember, and I would track it every day. And I get to the point like at night where I'm like, I still need 100 calories or 100, I mean, not 100, maybe 75 more carbs like after dinner. I got to find something just to get my numbers in for the night. And it actually becomes it's a chore to eat what you're supposed to. But I did it because one, I like food as anybody. So it wasn't like I do like eating. So it wasn't like, oh crap, I got to eat something. But it was the idea that that entire time was like, I felt better. I had more energy. My hydration was good. My sleep was excellent. My mobility was good. I didn't ache. All these things, and the only thing, I mean, I was working out and stretching, but it allowed me, like I always look at moving. So, you know, obviously the fitness aspect, the working out, the nutrition aspect, the hydration aspect, mobility aspect, and the sleep.
Yep.
Those are like my 5. I don't know if I'm missing any. I mean, this is more from a physical standpoint, not the mind and body aspect, or the mind and spirit, but the physical, those were the 5. If I could tap those 5 every single day, and with habit, they kind of pull each other together.
They do.
It was same thing. It was like transformational, and you felt good, and like you were just on cloud 9. And the other thing, and last thing I'll say before we sign off, is the physical aspect, what it does to your mental aspect, but what it also does to your performance day to day.
Sure.
Like, I'm not a professional athlete. I don't coach people. I don't train people. I am in a work setting. I'm in a business setting. But when I'm on, I'm on. I'm thinking. My toolkit day to day is my knowledge, my ability to talk to people, my ability to solve problems, my ability to critically think, my ability to come up with systems and solutions. And I tax my brain all day long. And to me, the physical nature of it, and that's something that I'm starting to find I'm doing well at, but I personally am not capping that potential because I know my physical aspect isn't as high as it should be, where I know once that goes high, it's almost like a cheat code. It's almost like you're playing with like, you know, on like another level that people don't realize. And I'm like, everybody's got this in them. It's just like you have to trust the process, get to that, and then finally when you get to that point, you're like, life just is easier than it once was. And that's I think the idea behind all the stuff you're talking about, I think is people just went into it knowing like, hey, if you want to, and we talk about like priority, like knocking down the big domino. Well, the big domino on many of the things is the 3 things you just said. If you can knock those 3 things down, a lot of your problems, underlying issues go away. They don't exist. They cease to exist.
You're right.
And things happen, things pop up, and you're like, good. And next thing you know, your whole life elevation mood, you know, not just you, but you know, your wife, your kids, your friends, your clients, your coaches, your you know, anybody that you've dealt with. You know, I think that's like I said, it's just one hand kind of feeding the other. It just like gets this constant this motion. But well, Coach Steve, if people want to reach out to you, I'll put some stuff down in the show notes. But where do we? What's the best way for people to reach you?
Give me a call. My number 518-847-5740. That's, you can always shoot me a text or leave me a message. I'm here locally. I'm at 18 Brinkerhoff Street in downtown Plattsburgh, New York. If you want to check out the website, it's jsfitandwellness.com. I'm on Facebook, you know, JSFit on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Coach G was on TikTok.
Okay, all right, little dance moves, little pitbull.
I love the dance. Come on, man. Fireball. But yeah, I mean, I'm right downtown, and you know, if you're curious or interested, and you just, you know, let's have a conversation about your health and where you are. And one last thing I'm going to leave you with, there's this thing called the flow state. You ever hear the flow state?
Yep.
So when we talk about that 3-prong approach to wellness, right, the mind, body, and spirit, when you are working in those arenas and you are optimal in each arena, we evolve into this flow state where everything makes sense. You are healthy, you're optimal, you're aware, you're performing at work, at home, your mind is clear. So ultimately, I'm training people to evolve into the flow state, and I see this what happens. You know, I'm in the flow state right now. Been in the flow state for many years. I'm consistent. I show up and make it happen. If I have a goal, I complete it. There's no. I'm going to do the shit. Like I committed to do the Spartan race all by myself. Yeah, all by myself. I've trained many teams over the years to do it, but this one was for me. It was for Coach Steve on the mountain, right? But it's the mind. It's a mindset. You flow. You do what you say you're going to do. You show up where you say you're going to be. If you're going to work out, you do it. You're healthy. There's no wavering. You're in this flow state. So I want to teach you, if you're listening right now, to be in the flow state. Come hang out with me for a month. Come hang out with me for 2 months. Come hang out with me for 3 months. You'll see magic happen in that little 800 square foot of space. Come see me though. I'm waiting for you.
Well, Steve, I appreciate it. This was cool. And like I said, people out there, you know, like I said, take them up on it. A lot of passion. Again, you can only hear so much, but I wish I had cameras on people sometimes. It was good. But yeah, we'll put some stuff down in the show notes. Again, JS Fit, right on Brinkerhoff. Go check them out. Steve, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, brother.
Coach Steve, we'll call you. So,
Thank you.
But that's it. Episode 205, The Galen Trombley Show. We're out. Thank you for listening to The Galen Trombley Show. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share the episode. You can follow me on all social platforms at Galen Trombley. Thanks for listening.